Hi, welcome back guys. This is your friend, the What If guy, back with another fanfiction. This is the first part of What If Issei becomes Kamen Rider. Now before starting, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Now let's get into the fanfic. Kazuma awoke to a voice calling him repeatedly. As he opened his eyes, he found himself surrounded by a white void, where a young man in a white hazmat suit stood before him. Kazuma wondered why Katsuragi Takumi from Build was there. Katsuragi confirmed that Kazuma was not dreaming and expressed surprise that Kazuma knew his name, admitting he did not know Kazuma's identity. Kazuma introduced himself as Kazuma Ryusi and explained that he could not remember anything, recalling only that he had been on his way home from a convention before everything went black. Katsuragi explained that they were in Kazuma's mind, and he was unsure how he ended up there. He mentioned that he was supposed to be non-existent in a new world created by Kiryu Sento, where Evolt did not exist, yet here he was. Kazuma pondered whether they were stuck there or if he would wake up in the real world. Katsuragi suggested that waking up might provide answers. As Kazuma stood up, he discovered he had a build driver at his waist, complete with 2 full bottles. Katsuragi was astonished to see a stranger using his technology. Kazuma, intrigued by the build driver, noted that it felt larger than expected. When he began to rotate the crank, gold and silver pipes materialized, and he felt a rush of energy as he transformed. He realized he had become Kamen Rider Build, though he preferred to think of himself as Superior Build. Katsuragi found Kazuma's transformation fascinating and offered to guide him within his mind, sharing knowledge to help them confront whatever awaited them in the real world. Kazuma agreed that it was time to wake up for real. As he closed his eyes, he felt himself demorph back into his civilian form. When Kazuma opened his eyes again, he found himself staring at a ceiling. Confused, he wondered where he was. Suddenly, a boy with brown hair burst into the room, excitedly announcing that Kazuma had woken up and that they would be late for school. Kazuma recognized the boy as Issei and was taken aback by his presence. Issei playfully complained about Kazuma's slow awakening, prompting Kazuma to apologize and mention he would be downstairs after a shower. Kazuma realized that he had become part of a family in this new world. He recalled that he had been driving home from a convention and theorized that he had been transported here after an accident. He thought about Katsuragi guiding him as he had done with Kiryu Sento. For now, he decided to embrace his new family while seeking answers. Kazuma, now known as Ryusi, got up, took a shower, and dressed in his school uniform. He reflected on his identity as the oldest son of the Hayate family and Issei's older brother. As he made his way downstairs, he greeted his parents, only to be shocked to see Banju Ryuga, his father in this world. He struggled to process the reality of his situation, realizing that something must have interfered with the creation of this new world. His mother, Yui, called him to breakfast, and Ryusi sat down beside Issei, trying to come to terms with the fact that his parents were characters from the Kamen Rider Build New World movie. After breakfast, Issei announced they were heading to school, and Ryusi checked his bag, discovering the build driver with rabbit and tank full bottles attached. As they left the house, Ryusi promised himself that he would find the answers he needed. The brothers walked toward Crow Academy, and Ryusi contemplated the challenges ahead. In class, Ryusi sat by the window, reflecting on the high school DxD world. He was aware of the events that would unfold, including Issei's death and transformation into a devil. However, with Ryuga and Yui present, he suspected that things might change. He struggled with the decision of whether to intervene or let events unfold as they were meant to. After class ended early, Ryusi walked through the corridor and passed by Rias Gremory and Himejima Akino, who were unaware of his presence. He decided it was time to go home and find Issei, knowing exactly where to look for him. Meanwhile, Issei, Matsuda, and Motohama were peeking into the Kendo Club's changing room, their intentions questionable. Ryusi confronted them, scolding Issei for his behavior. After a brief lecture, the brothers headed home, where Ryusi advised Issei to pursue a relationship with someone who liked him, encouraging him to change his ways. Once home, Ryusi sought guidance from Katsuragi, inquiring about the possibility of creating beat cross-sir, like the one Ryuga used in the Build world. Katsuragi assured him that it was possible if they had the right materials. Ryusi felt a sense of urgency as he contemplated the need to act before the impending D-Day, determined to ensure his brother's safety. He was resolute in his mission to save Issei from the fate that awaited him, inspired by the words of a certain rider who had once fought against destiny. 2 months had passed since Ryusi arrived in the DxD world, and time had flown by. He had transformed the basement of their home into his operational base, where he, with the help of Katsuragi, had successfully created a weapon known as the Drill Crusher. As he prepared to test the sword, he activated its mechanism, causing it to glow with a brilliant gold and silver light. In a moment of panic, he swung it against the basement wall, leaving a scratch that surprised him. He realized it was not yet at maximum power, but the potential was intriguing. After a long day, he decided it was time to eat, feeling hunger pangs. At the dinner table, Ryusi nearly choked when Issei announced he had a date with a girl named Amano Yuma. Maintaining his composure, Ryusi recalled who Yuma truly was, Rainer, the fallen angel. He understood the urgency of the situation. They needed to act quickly. The drill crusher was close to completion, requiring just a few more adjustments before it would be ready for use. After dinner, they would continue their work on the sword. As the evening progressed, Ryusi sprinted through the rain, calling out for Issei. When he finally spotted his brother lying on the ground in a pool of blood, panic surged through him. He rushed to Issei's side, desperate for help, pleading for someone to save his brother. Earlier that day, Ryusi had seen Issei preparing for his date. Issei had asked how he looked, and Ryusi had reminded him to behave appropriately since it was his first date. After Issei left to meet his girlfriend, Ryusi decided to keep an eye on him, concerned about what might happen. He had intended to study at the library, but the thought of Issei's date prompted him to follow. Ryusi reflected on their chances of fighting the fallen angel, knowing that Issei possessed half of the dragon essence, which would give them an advantage. He also had the finished drill crusher at his disposal. He recalled that the most powerful beings in this world were dragons, and he believed they could defeat her. Despite his nerves about facing a true threat for the first time, he resolved to protect his brother. As he searched for Issei, anxiety began to consume him. After hours of searching, he realized he needed to check the park where Yuma would likely confront Issei. The rain began to pour as he sprinted toward the location, calling out for his brother. Back in the present, Ryusi held Issei in his arms, crying out for help. Suddenly he heard a mocking laugh. It was Yuma, now revealing herself as Rainer. Ryusi glared at her, refusing to let her words affect him. He stood tall, asserting that if she wanted to blame someone for Issei's fate, she should look at her own kind, not God. He expressed that they were not mere playthings to be discarded and that her jealousy had led to her downfall. In that moment, Ryusi drew the build driver and the rabbit and dragon full bottles. Rainer's anger flared as she prepared her light spear, but Ryusi was undeterred. He equipped the build driver, shaking the full bottles before inserting them into the belt. As the transformation began, he felt the power surge through him, donning the gold and silver armor that shocked both Ryus and Akino, as well as Rainer. With the rain pouring down, Ryusi declared his intent to make Rainer pay for what she had done. As she panicked and threw her spear at him, he easily dodged to the side and charged at her, unleashing a powerful kick infused with his dragon essence. Rainer struggled to comprehend how this human was growing stronger with each passing moment as she defended herself against his relentless barrage of punches. Ryusi felt his hazard level rising as he continued to fight, determined to protect his brother and confront the fallen angel. He was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, fueled by the longing to save Issei and prove that he would not back down. Ryusi summoned his drill crusher, skillfully blocking the incoming red spears aimed at him. Ryus watched in amazement as this ordinary human wielded a strange device, managing to fight a fallen angel on equal footing and actually gaining the upper hand. However, her attention quickly shifted to Issei, who needed help. Ryus expressed her determination to save Issei and turn him into a devil, and Akino agreed, a red light emanating from Ryus's hand. Meanwhile, Ryusi was locked in battle with Rainer. Frustrated, Rainer shouted defiantly, refusing to be underestimated. Ryusi countered her bravado, asserting that she was the one who should not underestimate them. He pulled out a rabbit-full bottle, inserting it into his weapon and pressing the button on its handle, causing it to glow with golden energy. Charging at Rainier, he slashed her abdomen, eliciting a scream of pain from her. He seized her wing and hurled her to the ground, diving down toward her with his drill crusher, which was charged with energy. Suddenly, an unexpected shot struck Ryusi, causing him to flinch. A familiar voice echoed, praising his skills but indicating a longing to keep Rainier alive. Ryusi turned to see a figure clad in red armor, recognizing him as Evolt. The realization struck him that Evolt had crossed into this world, and something was amiss. Evolt approached Rainier, apologizing to Ryusi and stating that he would have his chance to defeat her another time before firing a black mist from his steam gun and vanishing with Rainier. Left alone, Ryusi demorphed back into his civilian form, reflecting on the situation. His theory had been correct. Evolt was indeed present, and he needed to be cautious. Evolt had been a game-changer in his own world, potentially assisting fallen angels for his amusement and shifting allegiances. 3 weeks later, Ryusi kept a watchful eye on his brother, Issei. Now a low-class devil, Issei's hazard level had returned to normal. He had joined the occult research club to help Ryusi, but he was frustrated that she discouraged him from befriending a nun, which piqued his interest. Ryusi pondered the impending confrontation between Issei and Rainier, knowing that Issei would need more than just his balance breaker to succeed. He would need a miracle. 2 days later, while searching for Issei in the school corridors, Ryusi spotted him. Issei was determined to save his friend from danger, and Ryusi smiled, realizing that the time had come. He called out to Issei, who was eager to rush off. Ryusi handed him a lucky charm, explaining that it would serve as a weapon against the bad people he was about to face. Issei, though unsure about the charm, gratefully accepted it and tucked it into his pocket before running off to confront the threat. Ryusi was approached by Kilba and Kaneko, who acknowledged his supportive role as a brother. He urged them to assist Issei, knowing he still had much to learn. Kilba assured him that they would help. In an abandoned church, Donna spoke to Rainier about her usefulness and their agreement to assist Bloodstock. Bloodstock, however, was not keen on sharing all his resources, only providing Rainier with a crow-full bottle to enhance her power. As he departed, he left her with a sense of anticipation for the upcoming confrontation. Hours later, Issei arrived at the church with Kilba and Kaneko, ready to face the fallen angels. Kilba instructed them to handle the followers while Issei rushed inside to save his friends. Ryusi followed closely behind but was intercepted by Bloodstock, who expressed his impatience. Ryusi recognized him as Evolt and questioned his motives. Bloodstock revealed he had created a Kamen Rider system and was not there to fight but to assist Ryusi. He warned that Issei was currently facing a powered-up Rainier, having given her a full bottle to boost her strength. Realizing the urgency of the situation, Ryusi sprinted toward the abandoned church, determined to save Issei. Inside, Issei was pleading with God to save Asia, while Rainier mocked him for seeking divine help. Now transformed into her full crow smash form, she declared her invincibility with the power she had gained. Just then, Ryusi crashed through the window in his Kamen Rider form, Rabbit Dragon, aware that he had arrived too late but ready to confront the challenge ahead. With the full bottle now in her possession, Rainier felt empowered to confront her opponent. Ryusi, determined and resolute, called out his challenge, expressing his frustration and longing for a fair fight. The tension in the air was palpable as both combatants prepared for battle. Ryusi summoned his weapon, the drill crusher, and the clash began. Issei watched intently as the gold and silver armored figure engaged in combat with Rainier. The two fighters struggled for demps, but ultimately, Rainier managed to overpower Ryusi, sending him flying backward. He landed hard on the ground, struggling to regain his senses. Rainier leaped toward him, delivering a crushing stomp, taunting him with cruel words about his brother. Issei was taken aback by the revelation that Ryusi was his older brother. Confusion washed over him as he processed the implications of Rainier's words. Ryusi, despite his pain, urged Issei to flee. The situation escalated rapidly as Rainier continued her assault, and Ryusi's transformation into his civilian form was forced upon him. In a moment of desperation, Issei felt a surge of heat from his pocket. He pulled out a deck adorned with a dragon logo, and as he did, a red dragon emerged from the shards of glass scattered around him, circling him as a V-buckle appeared at his waist. Issei, momentarily lost in thought, turned his gaze toward Rainier with newfound determination. With a powerful resolve, Issei initiated his transformation. Flames engulfed his body, forming a suit of armor as the boosted gear manifested in his hand. His eyes, now resembling those of a dragon, glimmered with intensity. Ryusi, witnessing the transformation, muttered in acknowledgement of the power Issei now wielded. Rainier, shocked by Issei's transformation, realized the gravity of the situation. Issei, filled with rage over what had happened to Asia, prepared to confront Rainier with vengeance in his part. The battle intensified as Issei summoned a sword and unleashed a flurry of strikes, ultimately leaving Rainier wounded and vulnerable. As green light emanated from Rainier's injury, it hovered and entered Asia's body. Ryusi rushed to check on her, understanding that time was of the essence. He hoped that whatever power had revived Issei weeks prior would also save Asia. Just then, the door of the abandoned church swung open, revealing Ryus, Akino, Kilba, and Kaneko. Ryusi explained the situation, introducing Issei and identifying Rainier as the fallen angel they were facing. He entrusted Asia's care to them, believing they could bring her back. As he passed them, he felt a sense of relief, knowing he had done all he could. With a sense of purpose, he resolved to return home, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. A week later, Issei shared with Ryusi that he had joined the occult research club under Ryus Gremory. Ryusi felt a sense of pride for his brother, knowing that with the powers of Ryuki and boosted gear, Issei would be a formidable force against future threats. However, Ryusi was also aware of the looming dangers, including the existence of other Kamen Riders. He contemplated the implications of their powers and the potential for creating new enhancements. Ryusi sketched designs for a hazard trigger, recalling the events surrounding Kamen Rider Blood and the fusion of different full bottles to create powerful devices. He envisioned a new creation that could harness the essence of both rabbit and dragon. 2 days later, Ryusi found himself in a forest, ready to test his newly developed device. He carefully inserted the silver dragon and gold rabbit full bottles into the installation device, preparing for the experiment. As he activated it, a brilliant glow enveloped the can, and he marveled at the results. The can bore the logo of CaucasusBeetle Build, a testament to his success. Unbeknownst to him, a figure lurked in the shadows, observing his every move. With a smirk, the stranger prepared to unleash a new threat, inserting a bat full bottle into a steam gun, ready to confront Ryusi and the power he had just unlocked. A bat symbol appeared on Ryusi's chest armor. He sensed something unusual and summoned his drill crusher, transforming it into gun mode and firing at a distant target. A chuckle echoed through the air as a figure clad in black armor emerged. Ryusi recognized him as Night Rogue and speculated that Evolt must have given the trans-team system to this individual. Still in his civilian form, Ryusi equipped his build driver and inquired about Night Rogue's intentions. Night Rogue casually stated he was merely checking which Kamen Rider Ryusi was. He remarked that Ryusi's current state could not possibly match Evolt. Ryusi, intrigued, asked if Night Rogue knew Evolt and if he was the one who provided him with the system. Night Rogue confirmed a mutual agreement to avoid interfering in each other's affairs, which caught Ryusi off guard. As Ryusi pondered this information, he realized that when Evolt used his Kamen Rider system, he would be outmatched in the future. Night Rogue decided it was time to leave, stating he would see Ryusi again soon, and fired a mist from his steam gun before vanishing. Ryusi looked around, finding no trace of Night Rogue, and glanced back at his shining build can, feeling a strange familiarity with the figure he had just encountered. He resolved to remain cautious, knowing that Night Rogue could become an enemy in the future. Later, Ryusi found himself in his basement, attaching the shining build can to a device as he inspected the hazard level percentage for battle. The potential for increasing the hazard level further excited him. It was a significant discovery. His mother, Kasumi, called for him, announcing that dinner was ready. Satisfied, Ryusi placed the can on his desk, eager to utilize it. At the dinner table, Ryusi joined his friends Issei, Kasumi, and Ryuga. Ryuga asked about their day at school, and Ryusi responded positively. Issei shared his frustration about his club president, Riser Phoenix, whom he disliked. Ryusi furrowed his eyebrows, realizing that the Phoenix arc was unfolding. He recalled Issei's memories of Riser, recognizing him as a formidable opponent. Concerned about Issei's hazard level, Ryusi noted that even with a Kamen Rider system, Issei might struggle against someone of Riser's caliber. However, he reassured himself that Issei, as Ryuki, did not need a hazard level or power-up. Experience was what he truly needed. After dinner, Ryusi instructed Issei to follow him to the woods after helping their mother with the dishes. Issei, initially confused, complied after they finished. In the woods, Ryusi explained that it was time for Issei to gain fighting experience. He emphasized that having power without experience was ineffective. Ryusi proposed a sparring session and asked if Issei had the item he used to transform during his fight with Rainer. Issei produced the Ryuki Advent deck, and Ryusi guided him through the transformation process. Once Issei transformed into Ryuki, Ryusi equipped his build driver and prepared for their spar. He inserted 2 full bottles and initiated his transformation, feeling the rush of power. As they faced each other, Ryusi encouraged Issei to show his strength. The two charged at one another, ready to engage in combat. The next day, both Ryusi and Issei were covered in bandages, with Issei bearing the brunt of the injuries. The previous night's spar had been one-sided, with Ryusi easily overpowering his younger brother due to Issei's inexperience. Despite this, Katsuragi informed them that Issei's hazard level had risen to 4. Ryusi reflected on how Issei's lack of fighting experience hindered him, noting that if he had more practice, he could become a formidable fighter like Ryuga. However, he was concerned about Riser's advantage with healing potions, which could complicate matters. Ryusi understood that he could not interfere in the supernatural world and felt powerless as a mere human. He knew that no one would believe him if he claimed to possess devices that could match their strength. He reminded Issei that wielding power without experience was futile and that the purpose of their spar was to prepare him for future challenges. Ryusi's words echoed in his mind as he encouraged his brother to continue training. At Kyoto Academy, after school, Ryusi trained behind the Occult Research Club building, feeling frustrated with his lack of opponents. Exhausted, he lay on the ground, sweat dripping from his face. Suddenly, a voice interrupted his thoughts, and he looked up to see another user of a steam gun approaching him. This time, a figure clad in white armor adorned with a spider logo on the chest and a spider design on the visor confronted Ryusi. Ryusi wondered who this mysterious individual could be, noting the strange presence of another steam gun user wielding a spider full bottle, someone who was not supposed to exist. He thought to himself that this person was likely meant to be someone entirely different. As Ryusi prepared for battle, he felt a sense of urgency. The opponent, who introduced himself as Kilburst, was clearly avoiding revealing his true identity. Ryusi noted the danger. Kilburst's hazard level was stronger than that of Bloodstock and Night Rogue, measuring at hazard level 4.5, 2 levels higher than his own. He realized they would need to utilize the new full bottles, as they were not yet ready to use the Cross-Z build can. With determination, Ryusi activated his build driver, summoning the power of the same bike full bottle. As he transformed, he felt a rush of energy. Kilburst laughed, drawing his steam blade and steam gun, and the two charged at each other, ready for combat. Now clad in shark and bike armor, Ryusi faced Kilburst, who commented on his impressive form. Ryusi, however, was focused on the fight and charged at Kilburst, initiating a fierce exchange. Kilburst noted the increase in Ryusi's hazard level, which had risen to 4.9, but warned that this was likely Ryusi's limit. As the battle intensified, Kilburst revealed his true power, glowing blue and appearing suddenly in front of Ryusi. He declared that he and Bloodstock were similar, launching a series of attacks that forced Ryusi into a defensive stance. The realization struck Ryusi that Kilburst's hazard level was continuing to rise, putting him at a significant disadvantage. Kilburst unleashed a finishing attack, combining his steam blade and steam gun into a powerful weapon. He shot at Ryusi, who was caught off guard by the blast and sent sprawling to the ground, reverting to his civilian form. Disoriented, Ryusi questioned how Kilburst had become so powerful in such a short time. Kilburst expressed admiration for Ryusi's development but revealed his intent to reward him. He produced a familiar red device, along with 2 additional full bottles, which Ryusi recognized. Kilburst hinted that Bloodstalk was not the only one who could change the game before disappearing in a mist from his steam gun. Ryusi picked up the hazard trigger and the new full bottles, contemplating their potential. He understood that this was a chance to elevate his hazard level, but he was aware of the risks involved. He acknowledged that their work was cut out for them in creating the full bottle. Days later, Ryusi was shocked to find Issei beaten and lying in bed, revealing that Riser Phoenix was also a Kamen Rider. Ryusi recalled a flashback of Issei, now transformed into Kamen Rider Great Cross Z, facing Riser in a match. Riser had taunted Issei, revealing his own power as a Kamen Rider and ultimately dominating the battle, leading to Ryus and her peerage's defeat. Realizing the implications of Issei's condition, Ryusi understood that defeating a high-class devil like Riser would be a daunting challenge, especially given Issei's current hazard level. He took out the hazard trigger, contemplating whether he could control its power. With no other choice, he resolved to try. Beside Issei, Asia, who had brought him back from the raiding game, expressed concern. Ryusi pressed her for information about what had happened to Issei, his aura intensifying as he demanded answers. Asia, taken aback by his intensity, hesitated. Just then, a portal opened, revealing Graphia, Surzeka's queen. She informed Ryusi that he was invited to a party by Surzek, who hoped he could save Ryus. Despite his initial reluctance, Ryusi felt a surge of determination. He was not just an ordinary human. He had the potential to fight against supernatural beings. He gazed at Issei, still unconscious, and vowed to confront whoever had harmed him. Meanwhile, Ryus stood before a mirror, sadness etched on her face. She reflected on the recent match, where Riser had revealed his Kamen Rider powers and decisively defeated Issei. The memory of Issei's determination lingered in her mind, and she regretted calling off the match, leading to their loss. Riser entered the room, commenting on Ryus's beauty, which she dismissed with disdain. He remarked on the surprising defeat of a low-class devil like Issei, confident in his own superiority. Ryus, however, remained hopeful that Issei would return to save her. Bloodstalk emerged from the shadows, adding to the tension in the room. He acknowledged the entertainment of the party while Riser welcomed him. Ryus was shocked to see Bloodstalk, who introduced himself and revealed his role in granting Riser the Kamen Rider system. He expressed his boredom with the idea of Issei winning the game, hinting at the darker games at play. Bloodstalk had given Riser a boost, which resulted in an increase in Riser's power. Bloodstalk explained that while the pawn had a hazard level of 4.3 during their previous fight, Riser's level was 5.0 at that time, and it had risen to 5.3 afterward. Riser felt confident, believing that even if Ryus wanted to be saved, he could still defeat her pawn. Suddenly, Kilburst emerged from the white wall, surprising Bloodstalk. Kilburst introduced himself, stating that he was similar to Bloodstalk. Bloodstalk questioned Kilburst's presence, and Kilburst indicated that they no longer needed to fight. He then mentioned that Enigma Build possessed a forbidden item known as the Hazard Trigger. Bloodstalk interrupted, already aware of the item, and Kilburst asked if he knew who could utilize it to its full potential. Bloodstalk hesitated, realizing Kilburst was referring to Ryusi, the older brother of the one they had defeated. 2 hours later, a ceremony commenced with Riser giving a welcoming speech, expressing his gratitude to everyone attending his wedding with Ryus Gremory. Ryus appeared from a portal, adorned in an appealing white wedding dress. Just then, the entrance door burst open, and guards were thrown aside as Superior Build made his entrance. The devils were shocked to see a Kamen Rider among them, prompting one noble devil to demand an explanation from Surzek. Surzek admitted that he had invited the human world of Kamen Riders for the main event. Ryusi declared his intent to avenge his younger brother, catching Riser's attention. Riser asked for Ryusi's name, and Ryusi confidently introduced himself, insisting that Riser remember it. Surzek acknowledged Ryusi and noted that he was there for both saving Ryus and seeking revenge. He then proposed a match between Riser and Ryusi, which shocked the nobles present. Ryusi declared that if he won, the marriage would be called off, and Riser would be barred from the human world. The match began, with Ryusi standing against Riser. Riser dismissed Ryusi's abilities, claiming that he was just a normal human, even with the hazard trigger in his possession. Ryusi, however, had trained to adapt to the device before arriving. As the battle commenced, Ryusi activated the hazard trigger, transforming into Build Hazard, clad in black armor with gold and silver accents. Riser responded by activating his own driver, becoming the scorching red warrior, Phoenix Blaze. The two opponents charged at each other, engaging in a fierce battle. Riser struggled to keep up with Ryusi's speed, who managed to evade and counterattack. Ryus watched in awe as Ryusi, a normal human, held his ground against Riser, though she remained cautious about getting her hopes up. A girl with black hair observed the fight, intrigued by Ryusi's capabilities. As the battle intensified, Riser's fury grew, and his hazard level increased. Ryusi decided to escalate the fight, summoning the Drill Crusher and attacking Riser with incredible speed. He unleashed a flurry of strikes, pushing Riser back. Ryusi then activated the hazard trigger again, preparing for a finishing move. He charged at Riser, executing a powerful rider kick that sent Riser skidding backward. Both fighters unleashed their final attacks simultaneously, resulting in a clash of power. Ryusi's kick broke through Riser's defenses, striking him in the abdomen and sending him crashing into a cliff. As Ryusi landed safely, Grafia declared him the winner of the match. Ryusi celebrated his victory. Later, Ryusi leaned against a wall as Ryus and her peerage approached him. He advised them to focus on training Issei to ensure he could defend himself. As he walked away, he overheard a conversation between Grafia and Surzek, mentioning Vale Lucifer and Divine Dividing, which piqued his curiosity. In an unknown location, a silver figure with a blue helmet and glowing gold eyes stood amidst a desolate landscape, observing the events unfold. Vanishing Charge. 2 weeks had passed since Issei's intervention, and Ryusi was now training in his hazard form, determined to raise his hazard level on his own. The battle with Riser had opened his eyes to the challenges he faced. Riser was formidable, and Ryusi had only emerged victorious because of the hazard trigger. This realization pushed him to train his body to its limits, but he was haunted by the fear that pushing too hard could lead to losing control during a fight. As the new owner of the hazard trigger, Ryusi knew he needed to find a way to harness its power effectively. Kilburst, the user of the White Trans team, had given him the trigger as a starting point for a reason. Kill understood its potential, but Ryusi could not risk using it until he found the right materials for an upcoming power-up item that would help stabilize his hazard form. With each passing moment in training, he felt his hazard level rising, but it was not enough. Everything was happening too quickly for him. He had thought that the Cross-Z build form would be the solution, but it was insufficient to defeat Kill Burst. The hazard trigger disrupted the chain of reactions he had hoped to rely on. As he lay down and reverted to his civilian form, Ryusi couldn't shake the feeling of jealousy toward his younger brother. Issei had become a devil with a sacred gear, the boosted gear, and he was also a Kamen Rider. Ryusi feared that Issei might surpass him, and the thought made him clench his fist and punch the ground in frustration. He wondered what could possibly elevate his hazard level without losing control in his hazard form. At that moment, Ryuga, his father, appeared, walking toward him. He suggested that Ryusi might want a sparring partner. Confused, Ryusi got up, and his father urged him to transform. The shock of Ryuga's sudden appearance left Ryusi momentarily speechless, but he complied and equipped the build driver, inserting 2 new full bottles. As Ryusi transformed, he felt a wave of nostalgia wash over him. Ryuga then transformed as well, and they both took their fighting stances. Ryusi charged at his father, attempting to land a punch, but Ryuga caught his fist and countered with a punch to Ryusi's abdomen. Despite the pain, Ryusi readied himself for another attack, but Ryuga dodged and landed a kick to Ryusi's back. Ryuga expressed his disappointment, expecting more from his son. Ryusi, fueled by anger, charged again, but Ryuga dodged and struck him in the abdomen once more, followed by a kick to his chest. Ryusi fell to the ground, groaning in pain. Ryuga pointed out that despite having the hazard trigger, Ryusi still could not match him. Ryusi, frustrated, yelled out a war cry, and Ryuga encouraged him to unleash his full power. They charged at each other, exchanging punches. Even in his base form, Ryuga was able to hold his ground against Ryusi's hazard sparking form. Showcasing his own hazard level of Ryusi felt a surge of power rising within him and wondered if this was the feeling Issei experienced. It was exhilarating and he realized it was what he lived for. In a climactic moment, both father and son landed punches on each other, sending them both backward. Ryuga skidded back, but Ryusi fell to the ground and reverted to his civilian form, breathing heavily. Ryuga approached him and offered a hand. Ryusi looked up at his father and smiled, accepting the help to get back on his feet. Ryuga suggested a second round of sparring, and Ryusi smirked in agreement. They both knew they needed to finish before dinner, as their mother would be waiting for them. In the Occult Research Club, Ryusi discussed a recent encounter involving Issei and a crow monster, which turned out to be a fallen angel named Rainer. Ryusi explained that this creature was a type of smash, specifically a crow hard smash. Ryusi expressed her disappointment that two other fallen angels, Donna and Kalawarner, had managed to escape. Ryusi nodded in agreement with Katsuragi's theory that Donna would likely return, possibly seeking revenge for his fallen comrades. He reflected on how his hazard level still did not match Issei's, especially with Issei's boosted gear, which would only continue to enhance his power. Despite his feelings of envy toward Issei's rapid development, Ryusi affirmed that he valued his humanity. He believed that being a Kamen Rider represented the strength of humanity, emphasizing the importance of hard work over mere prayer. He raised his fist high, declaring that it was a waste to rely solely on prayer without putting in the effort. As Ryusi glanced at the clock, he noted that their teammates were late. Ryusi mentioned that she had sent her familiar to track them down, and just then her familiar returned, prompting gasps from the group. They had been captured by a fallen angel named Kalawarner. Ryusi informed Ryusi about their location, revealing that it was at an abandoned warehouse not far from their current location. Ryusi decided to go alone, urging Ryusi and Katsuragi to find backup in case he took longer than expected. He ran out of the club, while Ryusi expressed her concern and mentioned that they would seek help from the student council. Ryusi pondered the implications of the student council's involvement, recalling that it was led by a devil named Sona Citri. This revelation made him wonder if the owner of the school was also a devil. He remained silent for a moment before confirming the truth to himself. At the abandoned warehouse, Issei, Kilba, Kaneko, and Asia found themselves tied up. Kalawarner, in her crow hard smash hazard form, expressed her frustration at Ryusi's brother for ruining her plans. She declared that she could kill them all right then and there, but her monologue was interrupted by the sound of a motorbike. Ryusi, as Kamen Rider Enigma Build, arrived on the scene. Kalawarner recognized him and warned him not to take a step closer, threatening to kill his little brother. This made Ryusi pause, as he had unfinished business with her. He confronted her about the punishment he received from his superior for her actions, suggesting that she should not have used a nun as a sacrificial pawn or made him her enemy. Ryusi decided it was time to end their conflict. He prepared for battle, knowing that Kalawarner was a formidable opponent. As they clashed, Ryusi punched Kalawarner, but she barely budged. He summoned his drill crusher and began slashing at her, pulling the lever on the sword to activate its power. With determination, Ryusi activated the Cross-C build Ken, transforming into his shining build form. He charged at Kalawarner, using the speed of his attacks to keep her off balance. However, Kalawarner managed to strike him with a light spear, causing him to fall back in pain. Seizing the opportunity, she stomped on him repeatedly, taunting him about his suffering. Despite the pain, Ryusi found the strength to rise again, determined to save his friends. He pulled out the hazard trigger and prepared for a powerful transformation. As he activated it, an electric shock coursed through his body, but he pushed through the pain, calling upon his strength. Calawarner charged at him, but Ryusi stood firm, manifesting a powerful aura as he transformed into his hazard form. The energy surged around him, and he let out a fierce war cry, increasing his hazard level significantly. Observing from the shadows, Kilburst noted Ryusi's rising power with interest. As Calawarner attacked again, Ryusi countered her strikes and retaliated with powerful punches. Calawarner was taken aback by his strength, but Ryusi remained focused, determined to defeat her. He activated his finishing move, unleashing a powerful rider kick that sent Calawarner crashing into the wall. After the dust settled, Ryusi quickly untied Issei, Asia, Kilba, and Kaneko, checking on their well-being. Just as they began to regroup, Calawarner, still defiant, vowed to make her superior acknowledge her. However, before she could act, a sudden rider kick from an unexpected source struck her down, destroying her. From the remnants of the battle, a figure emerged, clad in blue and silver armor with glowing blue compound eyes. Ryusi was shocked to see another Cross Z, realizing that the fight was far from over. Ryusi stared at his computer, focused on a new challenge that had arisen after his recent battle against Calawarner Crow Hard Smash Hazard. He recalled Ryus mentioning that a fallen angel named Donna had escaped their grasp the previous day. Ryusi hoped that Bloodstock wouldn't empower him further. He considered the implications of Donna's escape, knowing that he was a formidable opponent and a game-changer, much like Kilburst. However, Kilburst seemed to be concentrating on him, while Bloodstock appeared to be shifting allegiances. Ryusi reflected on the changes that had deviated from the original storyline of their world. He remembered that Riser was supposed to be the final boss of the first season, but now Donna had taken that role. This realization weighed heavily on him, as he suspected that Donna was preparing to confront them with newfound strength. In an unknown location, Bloodstock leaned against a wall as Donna emerged from a pod. Bloodstock chuckled, commenting on Donna potential to utilize the trans-team system. He handed Donna a trans-team gun and a crow full bottle, which Donna accepted with the intent to defeat the Kamen Riders and the user of boosted gear. He proclaimed his plan to strike at the heart of his enemies. Meanwhile, Ryusi found himself in the forest where he often trained. He was engaged in a simulation he had created with Katsuragi, fighting against a clone smash while in rabbit tank sparkling form. After several hours of intense training, he took a break, wiping the sweat from his brow. Suddenly, Kilburst appeared, catching Ryusi off guard. Kilburst warned him that Donna was seeking revenge on both him and his brother, Issei. Ryusi questioned Kilburst's motives for helping him, expressing his frustration. Kilburst explained that while Bloodstock's methods were intriguing, it was entertaining to assist a human Kamen Rider who struggled to keep pace with others, especially when those others were fallen angels and devils who could easily elevate their hazard levels. This only served to aggravate Ryusi further. Before Ryusi could respond, Asia rushed in, panic etched on her face. She urgently called for Ryusi's help, revealing that Issei was in danger, facing Donna. Ryusi's eyes widened in shock at the news. At Issei's location, he was locked in combat with Donna, who was now clad in trans-team system armor. Issei struggled to hold his ground against the enhanced foe, realizing that Donna was significantly stronger than before. Donna raged about his failures and the state he found himself in, blaming Issei for his predicament. Issei retorted, reminding Donna that his actions had consequences, particularly the threat to Asia. The battle intensified as Issei charged at Donna, unleashing a flurry of punches. He declared that even though he had sacrificed his humanity to become a devil, he would wield his power against Donna, both as a Kamen Rider and a boosted gear user. Draig, Issei's dragon partner, urged him on, and together they prepared for a decisive strike. As they clashed, both fighters exchanged blows, their fists colliding with force. Donna shouted that Issei would never understand the weight of his power, while Issei challenged Donna's justification for his actions. The confrontation escalated, with Issei's determination driving him to fight harder. Just as Ryusi arrived at the scene, he was taken aback to see Issei holding his own against the powered-up Donna. He noticed Issei's hazard level increasing, albeit slightly, and felt a pang of frustration at his own stagnation in strength. Issei, fueled by anger, continued to unleash a relentless barrage of punches against Donna, determined to protect those he cared about. As the battle reached its climax, Issei prepared to unleash his final attack. With the dragrider appearing from shards of glass, he charged up for a powerful rider kick. Donna, in a desperate move, attempted to counter with a drop kick. The two attacks collided, creating a surge of energy that rippled through the air. Issei, with unwavering resolve, managed to overpower Donna's attack, landing a decisive blow that sent Donna crashing to the ground. In pain, Donna acknowledged his defeat but warned Issei that his superior would eventually seek revenge. As he faded away, leaving behind only a black feather, Issei returned to his civilian form, greeted by Asia and the other members of the Occult Research Club. Ryusi watched from a distance, clenching his fists in frustration. He realized that while Issei was growing stronger, he felt stuck in place, unsure of how to advance. As Ryusi distanced himself from his brother and the others, he immersed himself in formulas and equations guided by Katsuragi, striving to create a device that would enhance his hazard level. He felt increasingly isolated, viewing Ryus and the others merely as supernatural beings fulfilling their roles in defending their territory. Ryusi was just an ordinary human, grappling with the question of what humanity was truly capable of. As he sat at the dinner table with his family, another thought crossed his mind. If Ryuga was present, what had become of Kiryu Sento in Build's new world? This realization brought back memories of the final episode of Build. Perhaps Sento believed that Ryuga was truly gone. Ryusi recalled that the new world version of Ryuga was with Kasumi, leading Sento to think he was alone in that new world. Suddenly, a knock echoed from the front door. Kasumi asked Ryusi to answer it, and he nodded, moving to the door. Upon opening it, he was greeted by a girl in white robes. It was Irina, who excitedly tackled him in a hug, exclaiming how long it had been since they last saw each other. Ryusi wondered if they were entering a new arc, the Excalibur arc. He inquired about her robes, and Irina playfully reminded him that she was with a church in Rome, pouting slightly at his forgetfulness. Ryusi apologized, realizing how much time had passed. Kasumi welcomed Irina back, and Ryuga smiled widely at her. Irina greeted them with enthusiasm, expressing how much she had missed them. Ryuga suggested that Irina join them for dinner, mentioning that Issei would be home soon. A few hours later, Issei arrived home with Asia and was surprised to find Irina there. Kasumi encouraged them to join dinner and teased Irina about her feelings for Ryusi, causing her to blush. Meanwhile, Ryusi was in his basement room, struggling to solve an equation that would lead him to a new power-up device, guided by Katsuragi. After several frustrating minutes, he sat down with a groan, feeling defeated. He decided to step outside for some fresh air, hoping that a walk might clear his mind. As he walked, he sighed in frustration, unable to think of a solution. Suddenly, he was confronted by a familiar figure, Bloodstalk. Ryusi glared at him as Bloodstalk coldly remarked on how Killburst had helped him multiple times. Ryusi, determined to confront him, took out his build driver, ready to engage in battle. He attached the build driver to his waist, retrieved the rabbit tank sparkling can and hazard trigger, and inserted both into the driver. With a swift motion, he activated his transformation, becoming his hazard form. Meanwhile, Issei sat with Ryus, expressing his sadness over Ryusi's apparent distance from him. Ryus reassured him that Ryusi still loved him as a brother but needed time and space to think. Asia pondered what Ryusi must be feeling, knowing he was a human with powers of his own creation but limited in many ways. Issei felt a pang of guilt, recognizing that his own strength came from the boosted gear, which had allowed him to grow and face challenges. He reflected on the weight of his responsibilities as a Kamen Rider, fighting for justice and protecting humanity. Back with Ryusi, he exchanged blows with Bloodstock, surprised by his opponent's strength. Bloodstock revealed that his hazard level matched Ryusi's, allowing him to stand toe-to-toe in the trans-team system. The two fought fiercely, each landing punches that sent them skidding back. Bloodstock, now engulfed in a red aura, quickly closed the distance and struck Ryusi in the abdomen, causing him to fall. As rain began to fall, Bloodstock taunted Ryusi, questioning if that was all he had. Ryusi, breathing and determined, activated his powers once more, charging at Bloodstock with a barrage of punches. Bloodstock encouraged him to show his true strength, and they locked arms, staring each other down. Bloodstock made a shocking statement, revealing that Ryuga knew who Ryusi was, not just in body but in soul. This revelation left Ryusi stunned. Bloodstock explained that he was Evolt, using another's body, and had to start from scratch upon arriving in this world. Ryusi was taken aback, realizing the implications of Bloodstock's words. As Bloodstock began to demorph, Ryusi and Katsuragi were filled with shock. The truth was unveiled before Ryusi's eyes. Kiryu Sento was there, but it was Evolt who had taken control of his body. The chapter ended with Ryusi grappling with the reality of the situation, facing the person he once knew, now transformed into something else entirely. Evolt stood before Kazuma Ryusi, a smirk playing on his lips. He had just revealed the shocking truth about their situation. Build had nearly defeated him, and the combined force of Build's kick and Ryuga's power had created a vortex that transported them both to a new reality. When Ryusi regained consciousness, he found himself in the body of Kiryu Sento, with the full bottles and Pandora box conveniently beside him. It felt like a new game plus scenario, a chance to start over with powerful tools at his disposal. Evolt expressed his surprise at Ryusi's ability to recreate the Build driver, but he dismissed it with a laugh, confident in his own plans to HRS Sento's genius to restore all rider drivers. With a cryptic farewell, he vanished in a mist produced by his steam gun, leaving Ryusi in a state of shock. He pondered their next steps, realizing that Kiryu Sento possessed a hazard level of 7, similar to Ryuga. The following day, Ryusi awoke at his work desk, having spent the night immersed in his thoughts. He had developed a blueprint for a new power-up, the full bottle, and a tired smirk crossed his face as he acknowledged his achievement. However, fatigue overcame him, and he decided to skip school to rest. Meanwhile, in Kyoto town, Issei was assisting Kilba in tracking down Freed, who had attacked Kilba days earlier. Joined by Kaneko and Saji from Sona Citri's peerage, they confronted Freed Selzen, who wielded Excalibur. Issei activated his boosted gear, ready to fight the rogue priest. Freed, in response, revealed a Stag Beetle full bottle, transforming into Stag Beetle hard smash, shocking Issei. Saji, with a knowing smirk, indicated that he was not the only Kamen Rider in Kyoto. He produced a blue driver and attached it to his waist, inserting a purple mini bottle into it. As he activated the driver, a purple substance filled the flask, and he transformed into a new rider, declaring his readiness for battle. Issei was left in disbelief at Saji's transformation. In the basement of the Hyudu residence, Ryusi stirred awake to find Ryuga, his father, observing him. Ryuga commented on the basement's peculiar nature, and Ryusi stared back, unsure of how to respond. Ryuga, aware of the truth, pressed Ryusi for his real name. After a moment of hesitation, Ryusi revealed that he was Kazuma Ryusi, from another world where their lives were merely an anime series. Ryuga acknowledged their shared alien status and introduced himself as Banju Ryuga, searching for his friend Kiryu Sento. Ryusi felt a pang of guilt, remembering the events of the previous night, but he wished Ryuga success in his search. Ryuga insisted that Ryusi call him Dad, as the body he inhabited still belonged to his son. Ryusi reluctantly complied, acknowledging the bond they shared. In an unknown location, Evolt approached a transparent cube filled with mist. With a chuckle, he opened the cube to reveal the Splash driver and crack full bottle, attaching them to his waist. As he activated the driver, a maroon mist filled the flask and shattered, signaling the next phase of his plan. He reveled in the thought of CaucasusBeetle initiating his own scheme, unaware that Kilba was observing him with a sinister grin. Kilba noted the completion of Evolt's Phase 2, while elsewhere, Night Rogue dispatched a stray devil with his trans-team gun. Kilba engaged him in conversation, revealing his identity and discussing the nature of their foes. Night Rogue expressed his neutrality, dismissing the devils as mere imitations of their original forms. Kilba, intrigued, mentioned Enigma Build, hinting at the complexities of their intertwined fates. As Ryusi contemplated the upcoming anniversary of Indu's death, he felt a sense of loss, wondering about Indu's fate. Meanwhile, Issei was confronted by CaucasusBeetle, a being with numerous black wings, who reveled in the chaos he intended to instigate among the factions. Ryusi, recognizing CaucasusBeetle's identity, questioned his motives, but he eagerly proclaimed his longing for war, setting the stage for the conflicts to come. Ryusi looked at CaucasusBeetle with disgust, calling him a warmonger. CaucasusBeetle, filled with confidence, proclaimed that he would destroy the very foundation of the town before flying away, laughing maniacally. Issei felt a surge of urgency and insisted that they needed to chase after him. However, Ryusi stopped him, mentioning that someone had delivered a briefcase to her from an anonymous source. She handed the briefcase to Issei, who opened it to find a wing card inside, the same type he had used when he was Ryuki. Ryusi instructed him to stop CaucasusBeetle while she went to gather Sona and her peerage. Issei nodded in agreement. At Ko Academy, Ryusi Gremory's peerage and Sona Citri's peerage confronted CaucasusBeetle. Issei summoned his boosted gear and prepared to use the new card he had received from Ryusi. CaucasusBeetle recognized Issei as the current Security and taunted him, challenging him to give it his all. The battle commenced, but Ryusi and Sona understood that it would be one-sided. CaucasusBeetle had extensive battle experience, which made him a formidable opponent. CaucasusBeetle struck Issei with a light spear. Thanks to his Kamen Rider armor, the damage was mitigated, but it still caused him pain. Saji joined the fight alongside Issei, transforming into Rogue and attempting to punch CaucasusBeetle. However, CaucasusBeetle remained unfazed, easily kicking Saji in the chest and then slashing him with a light spear. Saji fell backward in pain, and Issei called out to him in concern. CaucasusBeetle laughed at their efforts, mocking the strength of Kamen Riders. He decided to escalate the battle by retrieving his Sklash driver and attaching it to his waist. With a smirk, he announced his transformation into Kamen Rider Crow, entering the fray with renewed power. Issei and Saji, still in their Kamen Rider forms, rose to their feet and prepared to face this new challenge. A surge of flames enveloped Issei, igniting a brilliant flash that marked his transformation. Emerging from the blaze, he was clad in a new form of his Ryuki, known as Survive. His black suit was adorned with red dragon armor on his chest, and the boosted gear materialized on his left hand. With a fierce determination, Issei prepared to confront CaucasusBeetle, who had taken on the guise of a crow. Now in his red armor, which boasted draconic features, Issei was ready for battle. He wielded the Dragvisor's Vi, which transformed into sword mode, summoned through his boosted gear. Saji, his ally, readied his nebulous steam blade, and together they charged at CaucasusBeetle. The two Kamen Riders from the Devil faction faced CaucasusBeetle, who proved to be a formidable opponent. Issei struggled to adapt to his newfound power, while CaucasusBeetle showcased his superior fighting skills against the inexperienced Pawn Devils. CaucasusBeetle taunted them, questioning their abilities despite their power-ups. Issei gritted his teeth, feeling the weight of the challenge before him. The boosted gear announced a power boost, and Saji managed to land a punch on CaucasusBeetle, causing him to skid back slightly. Issei followed up with an upward slash from his Dragvisor's Vi, pushing CaucasusBeetle further back, though the fallen angel chuckled at the pain he felt. CaucasusBeetle acknowledged the fight, intrigued by the challenge. Saji expressed disbelief at CaucasusBeetle's resilience, while Issei declared that they would give him a fight worth remembering. Issei activated his weapon, charging at CaucasusBeetle and unleashing a barrage of meteor fireballs, while Saji prepared a powerful attack with his nebula steam gun. The combined assault sent a holographic robotic arm crashing into CaucasusBeetle, slamming him against the wall. As they assessed the situation, Ryusi, another Kamen Rider, joined the fray, now in his Enigma-built hazard form, wielding the drill crusher. He approached CaucasusBeetle with confidence, prompting surprise from Issei and Saji. Asia rushed to embrace Ryusi, relieved to see him. CaucasusBeetle, infuriated by Ryusi's presence, charged at him. Ryusi countered with a powerful slash from his drill crusher, landing multiple hits on CaucasusBeetle, who groaned in pain. Despite being a human, Ryusi proved to be a worthy adversary, leaving CaucasusBeetle astonished at the damage he could inflict. As the battle intensified, Ryusi recalled a previous encounter with Kilba, who had warned him about the weaknesses of the three factions against Nebula Gas. With this knowledge, Ryusi felt empowered to defeat CaucasusBeetle. He prepared for a finishing move, rotating the crank of his weapon and launching himself at CaucasusBeetle with a rider kick. The two collided in a fierce exchange, but Ryusi's newfound strength overpowered CaucasusBeetle, sending him crashing into a ruined building. CaucasusBeetle struggled to rise, declaring that he was not finished yet. Just as he seemed to regain his composure, another figure descended, delivering a powerful kick that sent CaucasusBeetle reeling once more. This unexpected ally left Issei, Saji, and the other devils in shock, witnessing yet another Kamen Rider joining the battle. As CaucasusBeetle emerged from the rubble, he began to falter, contemplating whether this would be the end of him. The tide of battle had shifted, and the combined forces of the Kamen Riders stood ready to confront him. CaucasusBeetle gazed up at the sky, his hand reaching out as if trying to touch the heavens. He felt a deep sense of longing and regret, thinking of his father, brothers, and sisters. He sought their forgiveness, feeling the weight of his choices pressing down on him. In that moment of reflection, CaucasusBeetle began to dissolve into particles, his essence scattering into the air. A silver figure turned around, and a portal materialized before them, shimmering with possibilities. Ryusi stood in confusion, questioning the identity of the mysterious figure before him. The blue-silver rider turned, revealing himself as Kamen Rider Vanish, a user of the divine dividing power. Issei, intrigued, pondered the implications of this encounter. Vanish acknowledged Issei's presence, remarking on the strength of his current host, hinting at their shared destiny of conflict. With a chuckle, Vanish expressed hope that Issei would grow stronger in time before he vanished into a portal, leaving Ryusi staring at the sky. Determined, Ryusi resolved to protect the human world, not just as himself but as Kamen Rider. He vowed to become stronger to safeguard the smiles of everyone around him. Katsuragi, his ally, smiled in support, embodying the ideals of love and peace. On the ground, Ryusi noticed Hawk and Gatling full bottles, suspecting that Bloodstock had provided them. He acknowledged that they would add to their collection. A week after the incident at Kyoto Academy, Ryusi revealed his lab to Issei, where he was diligently working. He pledged to support Issei from the shadows, believing that Issei was the hero the world needed. With Ryusi's knowledge, Issei would surpass the divine dividing user, especially with the aid of his sacred gear. Ryusi explained the V-buckle, a device he had given Issei, but insisted that they focus on their immediate problems first. Ryusi warned Issei to be cautious of a dangerous individual he referred to as the Snake, who was responsible for the mass-produced drivers Issei had encountered. This individual was known as Bloodstock, who viewed their conflicts as a game. Ryusi also mentioned Kilba, a mysterious spider-like figure capable of controlling his power levels, and Night Rogue, a bat-like entity whose allegiances remained unclear. After explaining the trans-team system used by these three figures, Issei had to leave for a meeting between the three factions. Ryusi provided him with a build phone for communication in case of trouble. As Issei departed, Ryusi realized that the Chaos Brigade would likely attack the meeting at Kyoto Academy, possibly with Bloodstock and Kilba in attendance. He had faith in Issei's ability to handle the situation but prepared to intervene if necessary, as he was Kamen Rider, representing humanity. Ryusi focused on completing the power-up device they needed, knowing that the full bottles were nearly ready but required a few adjustments. A few hours later, chaos erupted at Kyoto Academy as an unknown army attacked the summit meeting. Issei and his allies rushed outside to confront the assailants, who turned out to be descendants of the old Maos. Ryusi and Sona quickly deduced that these individuals were behind the attack. The old Satan faction, led by Kateria Leviathan and Kruzuri Asmodeus, clashed with Surzek and Azazel. Azazel, smirking as he dodged an attack, realized he had no choice but to transform. He announced his transformation into Kamen Rider Grease, summoning his weapon and engaging Kateria in a serious battle. Meanwhile, Kruzuri faced Surzek, who ultimately emerged victorious. As Issei transformed into Ryuki Survive, he confronted Vanish, accusing him of orchestrating the chaos. Vanish attempted to explain that he was not the enemy, revealing that someone else had taken control of the Cow's brigade and led the assault. Just as Issei was about to respond, a blast struck behind Vanish, prompting him to turn and see Ryusi in his Enigma build form. Ryusi, joined by Azazel, questioned Vanish about the attack. Vanish insisted that he was not responsible, claiming that a friend had informed him of the situation. Before they could delve deeper, they were interrupted by a clap, and Evolt appeared, introducing himself as Bloodstalk. He expressed his delight at the chaos unfolding before them and revealed his true identity as a world destroyer, intent on annihilating worlds. Evolt brandished the build driver and Cobra full bottle, preparing for his transformation. As he announced his transformation, Ryusi was left in shock at the unfolding events, realizing the gravity of the situation they faced. Evolt transformed into Kamen Rider, declaring himself as Kamen Rider Evolt with an evil laugh. As Evolt inspected his new form, he clenched his fist and prepared for battle. He charged at the Kamen Riders, with Ryusi being the first to react. They both swung their fists, and while Ryusi's punch connected with Evolt, it only caused Evolt to skid slightly. In return, Evolt's punch made Ryusi stumble backward, leaving him shocked at Evolt's strength. Ryusi wondered how Evolt could be so powerful using the build driver system. He realized that Evolt's hazard level must be much higher than his own and felt a sense of urgency. Issei, Saji, and Vanish attempted to retaliate, but Evolt easily blocked their punches, taunting them about their chances of matching his hazard level. He unleashed a red energy wave that sent Vanish stumbling backward, though he managed to maintain his ground alongside Issei and Saji. Azazel then charged at Evolt, and they began to exchange punches. It appeared that Azazel could hold his own against Evolt. Ryusi recognized that Azazel, being the leader of the fallen angels, had battlefield experience that gave him an edge. Ryusi joined the fight, jumping over Grease to kick Evolt, causing him to stumble slightly. Evolt taunted Ryusi, noting that his hazard level was beginning to rise. Grease and Enigma Build worked together to attack Evolt, but he continued to defend against their efforts. Evolt encouraged Ryusi to unleash his full potential, but when Ryusi punched Evolt in the chest, Evolt remained unfazed. He remarked that no matter how hard Ryusi tried, he remained stagnant while Evolt's power continued to grow. Grease then leaped in, performing a rider kick on Evolt, sending him crashing into a wall. Evolt acknowledged Grease's strength, expressing interest in his potential. As Ophus's portal opened, Evolt stepped inside, leaving Grease to stare at Ryusi and the others. Grease felt a sense of weakness, as if they had returned to square one, and urged everyone to get up, recognizing the work they had ahead of them. The next day, Issei and Saji trained with Grease, who pushed them to give their all. Ryusi contemplated the need to free Kiryu Sento from Evolt's control, believing that Sento could help solve their current problems. He realized that Valley was supposed to lead the attack at the summit, not Evolt. Before Issei left for a training trip to the underworld, he and Ryusi shared a moment. Ryusi ruffled Issei's hair and wished him well. Issei, along with Ryus and the rest of the peerage, departed for the underworld while Ryusi remained in the human world to protect it. As Ryusi walked through the city, an explosion startled him. He rushed to investigate and encountered an unknown monster resembling a smash. This particular smash was a hybrid of a rabbit and a tank, equipped with a tank cannon on its arm. Ryusi realized that this was a lost smash, likely a creation of Evolt. Transforming into Kamen Rider Superior Build, Ryusi charged at both the CD Lost Smash and Rabbit Tank Smash, launching an attack. He noted the power of these smashes and was soon joined by Night Rogue, who had no time for conversation and focused on finishing off the smashes. Night Rogue revealed he had another system to use. With a new transformation, Night Rogue announced his readiness for battle. The two teamed up to fight the CD Lost Smash and Rabbit Tank Smash, struggling against their formidable foes. Ryusi sensed something was off. These Lost Smashes were different and likely modified by Evolt. Hellkaiser suggested they needed to strike hard, and Ryusi was surprised by the simplicity of the plan. Hellkaiser equipped a weapon and Ryusi summoned his full bottle buster. They charged their weapons and attacked the CD Lost Smash, resulting in a powerful explosion that destroyed it. From the debris, 3 full bottles landed in Ryusi's hands, indicating Evolt's experiments had created a significant threat. Grateful for Hellkaiser's assistance, Ryusi acknowledged him as he rode off on his Night Kaiser machine, leaving Ryusi with a lingering sense of familiarity about the mysterious figure. In an unknown location, Killburst was dispatching stray devils when he sensed a presence. The figure introduced himself as Chow Chow, leading to a surprising revelation about Killburst's true identity as Kilbus. After the events of the previous day, Ryusi completed the full bottle, granting him the power to match Evolt. He hoped Evolt would not use the EVOL driver against him anytime soon. Issei arrived with Asia, Rias, and Sona, expressing concern about the new monsters and urging Ryusi to call for help. Ryusi explained that he did not want to interrupt Issei's training and revealed the full bottle to them. Due to the battle that occurred the previous day, Ryusi had completed a new device for their future confrontations. He presented it to Sona, explaining that it was a full bottle, an extension of his hazard form. With this device, he could stabilize his rabbit and dragon forms. Ryusi mentioned that creating one for Saji would take a considerable amount of time, prompting Saji to inquire if he needed an upgrade. Ryusi cautioned that their future enemies might be more powerful than CaucasusBeetle, leaving the group in thoughtful silence. Rias eventually broke the quiet, affirming that they would leave the matter in Ryusi's capable hands. The next day, Ryusi found himself in the simulation room of his lab, which had been transformed into a mansion thanks to the Gremory family. He prepared to test his device, excitedly announcing the start of his simulation. As he activated the full bottle and attached it to his build driver, he transformed into his new form, the Hazard Shining Build. A hologram of a smash appeared, and Ryusi charged at it, successfully defeating the hologram after a few minutes of intense combat. However, he pondered how he would fare against a true opponent like Evolt, realizing that battling Kamen Riders was on an entirely different level. Later, during lunch in the academy cafeteria, Ryusi learned about a school trip to Kyoto for the second-year class. He decided he would join, despite not being part of the class. Issei questioned how he would manage his own classes, but Ryusi shrugged it off, believing that skipping a few wouldn't hurt. He was aware of the hero faction's impending attack in Kyoto, which made him suspect that it was part of a larger plan. As he contemplated the situation, Ryusi lay on the rooftop, staring at the sky. His thoughts drifted to the Lost Smash, which had been unusually quiet lately. He speculated that Stock was behind the recent Smash appearances and recalled Evolt's claim of possessing a complete set of full bottles and the Pandora box. Ryusi theorized that the Pandora box might have lost its power and needed something more potent than full bottles to restore it. He concluded that Kiryu Sento held the key to refilling the Pandora box's power, which explained why Evolt had possessed him. Suddenly, an explosion erupted from the 3rd floor of the academy, prompting Ryusi to rush toward the source of the commotion. He suspected it was another Smash attack and was determined to confront it. Upon reaching the 3rd-year classroom, he found students fleeing from the Zebra Lost Smash. Rias and Sona were assisting the students, while the student council along with Saji and Issei was engaged in battle with the creature. Saji expressed his confusion about the Smash's strength, while Issei suggested they hold it off until Ryusi arrived. As Ryusi approached, he transformed into Hazard Shining Build and joined the fight, advising his friends to strike the Smash with all their might. Saji and Issei summoned their weapons, and together they launched a coordinated attack against the Zebra Lost Smash. With a powerful combination of their abilities, they managed to defeat the creature, though Ryusi noted the damage done to the school. After the battle, Ryusi picked up the Zebra Lost Bottle, realizing that they would likely face more challenges like this in the future. As Ryusi traveled from Tokyo to Kyoto, he reflected on his plans. He was excited to meet an online friend, Palad99, whom he had connected with through the game Mighty Action X. They had shared their thoughts about the existence of Kamen Riders in their world, and Ryusi was eager to discuss it further in person. He had been reading articles about various masked vigilantes in Japan, intrigued by the history of Kamen Riders like Fuise, Exade, Kiva, and others. This led him to wonder if there were indeed other worlds beyond his own, where stories of Kamen Riders existed as fanfiction. As he arrived at the train station, Ryusi was ready to embark on this new adventure, curious about what awaited him in Kyoto. Ryusi felt a mix of excitement and nervousness as he entered the online cafe, searching for his online friend. He had been chatting with Build 17, who had mentioned he would be there. As Ryusi scanned the room, he spotted a guy wearing spectacles, deeply engrossed in a game. A sense of disbelief washed over him as he recognized the figure. It was Katsuragi Takumi, a character from The World God Only Knows. Ryusi couldn't help but wonder why they shared the same first name. He shook off his surprise and approached Kaima's desk, reminding himself to stay calm. He introduced himself as Excite99, and to his relief, Kaima acknowledged him as Build 17. They exchanged pleasantries and settled into conversation. Curious about Kaima's school trip, Ryusi learned that Kaima had separated from his group to meet him and discuss something intriguing he had witnessed. Kaima brought up Kamen Riders, asking if Ryusi was familiar with them. Ryusi admitted he knew of them but had never seen one in person. Kaima then revealed a hidden clip showcasing various Kamen Riders, starting from Kuga. Ryusi recognized them all and questioned how this connected to their discussion. Kaima hesitated, revealing that he had never shared his true identity with anyone, not even his family. He then produced a gamer driver and a pink gas hat, shocking Ryusi. Kaima explained that he had found the items in his trash bin and, after seeing a Kamen Rider use a similar device, had tried it himself, becoming a pink Kamen Rider named Exade. Ryusi was taken aback, recognizing the name as that of a rider who appeared before the events of the Build story. The two shared their knowledge of Kamen Riders, and Ryusi revealed that he was also a Kamen Rider. He produced his Build driver along with the Rabbit and Dragon full bottles, leaving Kaima astonished. Ryusi explained that he was from another world and had been transported to this one, ending up with the belt. Kaima contemplated this revelation, surprised by the idea of multiverse timelines and how they might relate to their reality. Ryusi insisted he was not lying and felt there must be a reason for his presence in this world. Kaima agreed, suggesting that a greater force had brought Ryusi there, though they both remained uncertain about its nature. Suddenly, an explosion erupted outside, prompting both Ryusi and Kaima to rush out. They encountered a kaijin known as Clone Smash, and Ryusi realized they had work to do. He quickly attached his Build driver to his waist, while Kaima did the same with his gamer driver. With determination, Ryusi inserted the Gold Rabbit and Silver Dragon full bottles into his Build driver, while Kaima prepared his gas hat. They both activated their devices, calling out their transformations in unison. As the energy surged around them, they transformed into their Kamen Rider forms, ready to face the challenge ahead. Both Ryusi and Kaima targeted the Clone Smash that was causing havoc. Ryusi threw a powerful punch at the Clone Smash, but it had little effect. He winced in pain, feeling the impact of the creature's strength. Meanwhile, Kaima, wielding the Gashikan Breaker Sword, slashed at the Clone Smash, noting its heavy armor as he dodged another attack. Despite Ryusi's relentless punches infused with dragon essence, the Clone Smash remained unfazed, showing no signs of being scratched or moved. Kaima then transformed his Gashikan Breaker into hammer mode and charged at the Clone Smash, striking it repeatedly. Ryusi prepared for a transformation, taking out the Taka and Gatling full bottle and inserting them into his belt. He transformed into Enigma Build Taka Gatling, summoning the Hawk Gatlinger to fire energy bullets at the approaching Clone Smash. He was reminded that he needed to use the full bottle. Reluctantly, he retrieved it from his pocket, shaking it until it glowed blue. After twisting the cap to reveal a tank logo, he activated the hazard trigger and attached it to his build driver, pushing the button to initiate the transformation. With a powerful declaration, he inserted the full bottle into his driver, summoning a ground-shaking mechanical dragon from the earth. The dragon unleashed a barrage of attacks on the clone smash as Ryusi leaped into action, mini-tanks rising up to attach themselves to his body, forming new armor. Now in his dragon form, Ryusi charged at the clone smash, delivering a punch that made it flinch. He continued to strike, forcing the creature to stumble backward. He then drew the beat crosser and pulled down the handle, unleashing a flurry of energy slashes. The blue energy slashes erupted from the sword, and with a mighty effort he released them toward the clone smash, obliterating the remaining 4 creatures into pieces. Kaima observed the aftermath, acknowledging that these monsters would likely return in the future. Ryusi agreed, sensing that a formidable opponent was behind this chaos. Later, in their hotel room, Kaima inquired about the hero faction. Ryusi explained that they operated under the Chaos Brigade, led by Bloodstalk, also known as Evolt, whom he was hunting. He revealed that Evolt had previously attempted to destroy a planet but had been stopped. Currently, Evolt was only using a standard belt, having tested others before using his own. Ryusi expressed that they needed to gather information about Evolt's whereabouts, and Kaima agreed to assist him, questioning if it would just be the 2 of them. In a different location in Kyoto, a man wielding a spear introduced himself as Cao Cao, a descendant of the famous figure from the 3 kingdoms. Kunu confronted him, demanding to know if he was responsible for her mother's abduction and what he intended to do with her. Cao Cao revealed that her mother would aid them in conducting an experiment. Before proceeding, he expressed his longing to challenge Governor-General Azazel and the Red Dragon Emperor, prompting Azazel, now in his Kamen Rider rogue form, to land in front of Issei and his companions. Azazel stated that he would not mind the duel but insisted on the return of their leader, as they had important matters to discuss. Cao Cao smirked, inviting them to try and take her back, signaling the start of a battle. Issei prepared himself, readying his boosted gear. Cao Cao summoned an army of anti-monsters, revealing a boy named Leonardo who could create monsters tailored to exploit their opponent's weaknesses. Azazel recognized the threat posed by the Longinus that could create any monster the user desired. Issei, realizing the gravity of the situation, transformed into his armored form and charged at the incoming frontliners of the enemy faction. As the battle commenced, Azazel noted that the user of the anti-monsters had yet to reach full power, but he was skilled in creating targeted attacks. A beam of light shot toward them, causing shockwaves as it exploded against the hills. Issei strategized quickly, directing Kilba to create a sword that could absorb light and distribute it among their allies. He instructed Zenobia to guard Kunu and Asia while unleashing her holy aura against any approaching enemies. Irina was tasked with holding the front lines, using her angelic powers to combat the anti-monsters. As the fight intensified, Issei utilized a promotion, summoning a bishop piece that shattered before him. He absorbed an incoming beam from the anti-monsters and retaliated with his own energy blast. Azazel, hovering in the air with 6 black wings unfurling behind him, prepared to face Cao Cao, summoning the Downfall Dragon Spear. The 2 warriors clashed, their spears colliding with a burst of energy, while Azazel questioned Cao Cao about his tactics in gathering data on various leaders to enhance his anti-monsters. Cao Cao confirmed the accuracy of Azazel's assumption, setting the stage for a fierce confrontation. Cao Cao expressed gratitude for the data they had gathered, but Azazel pointed out that they still could not create a creature capable of killing a god. Cao Cao chuckled, asserting that they had their own means to deal with gods. As the battle intensified, Azazel swung the Downfall Dragon Spear, but Cao Cao deftly dodged the attack. In retaliation, Cao Cao swung his spear, only for Azazel to block it, though the force sent him airborne. The fight continued as they maneuvered to a different location. Meanwhile, Issei found himself confronted by 3 girls from the hero faction, who declared themselves his opponents. This unexpected challenge sparked an idea in Issei, who decided it was the perfect moment to utilize a special skill. He announced the release of his earthly desires, causing a pinkish, sparkling zone to envelop the area, leaving the girls in shock. They gasped in confusion, wondering what was happening. As Issei prepared for his attack, he formulated a strategy to confuse them with his movements before launching a chain attack. He swiftly moved behind the girls, shredding their shirts in the process. Proud of his combination of skills, he remarked on the effectiveness of his technique. The girls, horrified, fled the scene, leaving Kunu to express her dismay at the situation. She commented on the absurdity of Issei's attack, while Asia could only chuckle at the chaos. In another part of the city, Ryusi and Kaima arrived at their destination, a place where a figure known as Tendushin, the Lord of Speed, resided alone. They spotted a horned figure with glowing red eyes, which startled Ryusi. Kabuto, the armored figure, questioned their presence, and they explained their need for his assistance against the Cow's Brigade and the hero faction. Kabuto, intrigued, reverted to his civilian form and invited them to his home. As they walked, Shin recounted the tragic history of the city, explaining how it had once been vibrant with both humans and monsters. He revealed that the hero faction was partly responsible for its current desolation, as they had failed to protect it from a monster that could mimic humans. Ryusi realized the implications of this creature and listened intently as Shin shared his own story of loss and betrayal. He had once fought alongside allies who had perished while trying to protect the city, all because he had trusted the hero faction. Shin recounted a flashback where he confronted Cao Cao about the destruction of the city, expressing his anger and despair. Despite his pleas, he was overpowered and forced to escape, ultimately gaining new powers to fight back. The memory of his fallen allies haunted him, and he vowed to make the hero faction pay for their actions. Upon reaching a large, ruined mansion that once belonged to Sassword, Shin explained that it was now his responsibility to care for it. Inside, they found remnants of the Zectors, some damaged while others remained intact. Shin expressed determination to bring down the hero faction, despite the overwhelming odds against them. Kaima voiced concerns about their numerical disadvantage, but Ryusi encouraged Shin to reach out to other Kamen Riders for support. Although Shin had lost contact with many of them, he agreed to search for allies, recalling a couple who might be able to help. As they ventured into Fudo City, Ryusi marveled at the legendary location, feeling a surge of excitement as a Kamen Rider fan. However, the atmosphere turned tense as they sensed danger approaching. Masquerade Dopants suddenly appeared, prompting Ryusi to transform into Kamen Rider Enigma, while Kaima became Kamen Rider Xade and Shin transformed into Kamen Rider Kabuto. The three riders engaged in battle against the Dopants, with Ryusi and Kaima coordinating their attacks while Shin utilized his clock-up ability to gain an advantage. Despite their efforts, the relentless onslaught of enemies seemed never-ending, and they realized they needed a plan to overcome the overwhelming threat. Shin observed the striking bike, captivated by its design. Ryusi was taken aback by the sight of Kamen Rider Double, a figure adorned in black and green. He muttered the name Double, while Kaima inquired if that was indeed Kamen Rider Double. The rider was effortlessly battling the Masquerade Dopants, dispatching them in a remarkably short time. Joker's Side, one of the forms of Kamen Rider Double, remarked that the trio must have a reason for coming to the city. Cyclone Side cautioned Joker's Side to be more diplomatic, recalling a previous encounter with another rider that had not ended well. Joker's Side retorted, questioning Cyclone Side's negotiating skills. Cyclone Side insisted that they should at least listen to the newcomer's reasons. At the Fudo Detective Agency, Double reverted to his civilian form, revealing himself as Kentaro, while Lars was already present at the agency. He served tea to the group and prompted them to explain their purpose for visiting. Ryusi expressed their need for assistance regarding a rogue faction of heroes that had been causing chaos lately. Kentaro recognized the name and acknowledged having heard of their disruptive activities across Japan. Ryusi speculated that the faction was gathering data for a significant operation involving supernatural beings, including angels, fallen angels, and devils. However, he clarified that these beings were not true devils, as they exhibited more mercy than the original entities. Lars pondered whether the hero faction was part of something larger, to which Kaima revealed the name Cow's Brigade, led by Evolt. Ryusi explained that Evolt was an extraterrestrial being known for consuming planets by destroying them. Kentaro concluded that they needed to accept the request for help, recognizing the importance of addressing the havoc caused by the hero faction. He emphasized that their involvement was not a return to the Kamen Riders alliance but rather a temporary collaboration. Shin reassured them that this was all they needed, and he inquired whether they had contacted Oo. Kentaro admitted that they had not been in touch since the disbandment but noted that Oo should still be in the city. They decided to seek Oo's assistance, realizing that more riders were necessary to confront the hero faction. In Kogami City, Oo was engaged in combat against yummies that had appeared unexpectedly. He executed a dropkick on the last yummy, landing gracefully on his feet. Upon noticing a broken red metal, he muttered the name Ankh. As Ryusi completed another full bottle, he asked where they would find Oo. Kentaro informed him that they needed to go to Kogami City, a place ruled by a tyrant known as the Greed King, Kogami Aiku. Kaima elaborated that the city had gained independence and was governed by the Kogami family. The current ruler, Kogami Aiku, was notorious for having killed his own son to secure his throne. Lars explained that Oo, Kogami Eiji, was the grandson of the Greed King and the son of the previous Oo, who had been murdered by Aiku. Eiji was their only hope for liberating the people of Kogami City from the tyrant's grasp. In Kogami City, Oo continued to battle yummies using his new weapon, the metal Kilba. He executed a spinning finisher attack, causing the yummies to explode, leaving only metals behind. After demorphing back to his civilian form, he resolved to stop the chaos. Meanwhile, Ryusi and his companions arrived in Kogami City on their motorcycles. They were struck by the city's advanced technology, powered by metals. As they took in their surroundings, Shin sensed an impending threat. Suddenly, a swarm of yummies ambushed them. Ryusi armed himself with the Beat Crosser and Drill Crusher, launching an attack. Kaima joined the fray with punches, while Double transformed into his heat metal form, striking the yummies with the metal. Shin utilized his clock-up speed to attack from multiple angles. The four riders unleashed their finishing moves, completely obliterating the yummies. Just as they caught their breath, a booming voice echoed through the air, demanding to know why they dared to invade his city. Ryusi recognized the voice as that of the Greed King. The king declared that all four of them would be eliminated and summoned his homunculus to confront them. As the portal opened, four Kaijin emerged. Ryusi felt a sense of foreboding, realizing the challenge they faced. He handed Kaima a Kamen Rider Build gas hat, urging him to use it. Kaima, unsure but determined, activated the gas hat and transformed into Kamen Rider Build, summoning the Drill Crusher to his side. Ryusi prepared his full bottle, changing his form to Dragon and donning blue draconic armor. The homunculus charged at them, and the riders engaged in battle. Shin faced the yellow homunculus with incredible speed, while Double fought the blue one. Kaima took on the green homunculus, and Ryusi confronted the silver one. Meanwhile, Oo arrived at a towering building, only to be met by an unexpected guard. Before him stood a product of experimentation, a formidable foe known as Shocker O. Oo drew his metal Kilba and charged at Shocker O, initiating a fierce battle. He expressed remorse for his grandfather's actions, offering the promise of freedom from eternal misery as he slashed at Shocker O's chest. The battle raged on as Oo relentlessly slashed at Shocker O, striking him again and again. With a determined spirit, Oo placed 3 metals into the metal Kilba and initiated a powerful attack, charging forward and delivering a series of precise slashes to Shocker O's torso. The pain was evident as Shocker Oo screamed, ultimately leading to his explosive demise. With the threat neutralized, Oo charged into the towering structure known as Greed King Tower. At the highest floor, the Greed King observed the conflict between his homunculus creations and the 4 riders with a twisted sense of amusement. Once a wise and benevolent ruler, the Greed King had succumbed to the allure of power after discovering ancient metals beneath the city. This discovery allowed him to enhance his city, but it also ignited an insatiable greed within him. His ambition led him to commit unspeakable acts, including the murder of his own son, who had been poised to inherit the throne. That son, transformed into 000, had attempted to confront his father but ultimately failed, leaving behind the legacy of 00 for his own child. The Greed King harbored a longing to eliminate his grandson, but the boy's mother managed to hide him away. Embracing the title of Greed King, he began experimenting on kidnapped civilians, resulting in the creation of the Shocker O's. His failed experiments turned into an army. He also devised homunculus beings to serve as his elite guards, a dark legacy that persisted to the present day. Meanwhile, the grandson had grown into the new 000, determined to stop his grandfather. After a previous failed attempt, he had lost his homunculus ally, Ankh, who had bestowed upon him a core medal. At that time, he had been too young to fully grasp the weight of his mission. Now, he had trained both his body and mind, vowing to bring down the Greed King. As 000 emerged from the shadows, the Greed King acknowledged him, questioning his resolve to confront his own grandfather. AG, the new 000, expressed his anger over the death of his father, driven by a need to stop the tyranny fueled by greed. The Greed King, Kogami Aiku, rose from his throne, taunting AG about the worth of his years of training. Aiku revealed a new weapon, the Hexa 00 driver, a fusion of two 00 drivers that promised to elevate him to godhood. With a dramatic transformation, he declared himself Kamen Rider Hexa 00, laughing maniacally as he embraced his newfound power. In response, AG transformed into 000, adopting the Tajidor combo medal, his armor gleaming red with a phoenix design. As the two combatants took to the skies, their epic clash began. Meanwhile, the other riders engaged in their own battles against the silver and green homunculi. Ryusi unleashed a powerful beam from his full bottle buster, while Kaima executed a series of precise strikes. The combined efforts of the riders resulted in the destruction of the homunculi, leaving behind their core medals. AG landed before his comrades, grateful for their support but urging them to help him confront his grandfather. As Hexa 00 appeared, he dismissed the riders as pathetic, stealing the core medals from the fallen homunculi and enhancing his own power. Despite the riders' attempts to overpower the Greed King, their efforts proved futile. He unleashed a barrage of attacks, sending them reeling back and forcing them to revert to their civilian forms. The Greed King reveled in his superiority, proclaiming his ascension to godhood. Ryusi, determined to stand against the tyranny, rallied his friends, declaring that only one true god existed, and it was not the Greed King. AG, struggling but resolute, vowed to end his grandfather's reign. Suddenly, the sound of a train echoed through the air, drawing their attention. A rift opened, and Kamen Rider Donna emerged, greeting the riders with familiarity. The Greed King scoffed at the newcomer, but Donna was undeterred, ready to join the fight against the tyrant. As the confrontation escalated, Ryusi introduced himself as Kamen Rider Superior Build, prompting Donna to recognize him as a successor of sorts. The camaraderie among the riders strengthened as they prepared to face the Greed King together, united in their resolve to end his reign of greed and tyranny. Ryusi expressed his gratitude as Donna turned his attention to Greed King, declaring that the old man's reign would come to an end. Ryusi retrieved his full bottle from the build driver, shaking it until a dragon's roar resonated from within. He then rotated the bottle's cap and inserted it into the build driver, calling out for the transformation to begin. With a burst of energy, Ryusi announced his commitment to building a future filled with love and peace, revealing himself as Kamen Rider Enigma Build. Surrounding him was a shimmering aura of gold and silver. Observing this transformation, Shin acknowledged Ryusi's full-fledged status as a Kamen Rider, while Kentaro confirmed it. AG, determined to protect the people and the future, prepared to confront Kogami Aiku, his Tataba medal glowing as the O-scanner activated. AG transformed into a new Tataba design, now embodying 000 Super Tataba. Ryusi, filled with enthusiasm, expressed his eagerness to fight. The three riders stood united, ready for battle. Donna struck a pose, while AG assumed a fighting stance. Ryusi leaped towards Greed King, delivering a powerful punch that sent Aiku staggering back. Donna charged at Aiku, slashing him with a sword, while AG unleashed a claw attack from a distance, sending a wave of energy that struck Aiku. Aiku, bewildered by the onslaught, questioned how this was happening. Ryusi executed a double roundhouse kick, channeling gold and silver energy into his attack. Donna proclaimed that villains like Aiku always fall in the end, continuing the assault. Eiji, utilizing a newfound ability, teleported behind Aiku and struck him with Tora Claw, declaring it to be Aiku's downfall. Ryusi prepared for the finishing move, calling for a series of powerful attacks. The 5 riders combined their strength, executing a synchronized rider kick against Aiku, while Donna delivered his finishing slash. The combined force overwhelmed Aiku, who screamed in agony before exploding into countless metals. As the dust settled, the 5 riders stood tall, celebrating their victory. Eiji announced that the city was now part of Japan, having released his grandfather's experiments and slaves, and destroyed all connections to his past. Kentaro suggested that Eiji should thank Ryusi for his assistance. Donna expressed his intention to stay with the group now that Ryusi had become a full-fledged Kamen Rider. Ryusi requested their help to combat the Hero faction, a group connected to his grandfather's experiments. Eiji recalled the Hero faction's attempts to manipulate the timeline, while Donna agreed that they needed to be stopped. Shin and Kentaro voiced their commitment to the cause, and Ryusi proposed that they devise a plan to confront the Hero faction. Meanwhile, in the Hero faction's hideout, Kilba approached Evolt, revealing the EVOL driver and Kilba's spider full bottle, laughing maniacally at his discovery. In another scene, Issei and Saji struggled to rise, their allies defeated. They were determined to bring Kunu's mother back. Just as they prepared to activate a new device gifted by Ryuga, a group of Kamen Riders arrived, including Kamen Rider Enigma Build, Kamen Rider Xade, Kamen Rider Double, Kamen Rider Kabuto, and Kamen Rider O. Ryusi assessed the situation, glaring at Issei and Saji, whom he recognized from his past. As Ryusi transformed into his dragon form, he introduced himself as Hayudu Ryusi, the older brother of Issei. Cao Cao acknowledged Ryusi's strength, while Heracles charged at him, only to be intercepted by Kaima, who engaged Heracles in battle. Issei, feeling empowered by his new device, prepared to join the fight. With the drag visor evolving, he donned a new set of armor, ready to confront Cao Cao. Ryusi smiled, encouraging his brother as they both faced their respective opponents. As Issei fought valiantly against Cao Cao, he pinned him down, determined to avenge Kunu's mother. Despite Cao Cao's resistance, Issei harnessed the power of his Drago booster, preparing for a decisive attack. The battle intensified as both sides clashed, each determined to emerge victorious. Both warriors clashed their spears, exchanging powerful strikes. Issei marveled at the incredible skill displayed by his opponent, Cao Cao, and recalled how he had learned some of these moves from watching an Aquaman movie. As the battle intensified, Issei rotated his spear, summoning a circle of red, blazing energy. Cao Cao attempted to attack, but the force of their clash sent him staggering backward. Confused, Cao Cao wondered about the nature of Issei's move. Undeterred, he charged again, only to be repelled once more by the shockwave generated from their colliding weapons. Seizing the opportunity, Issei hurled his rotating spear at Cao Cao, sending him flying backward again. As the Drago Buster flew toward him, Issei caught it and leaped into the air, inserting the final vent into his drag visor Dre. With a surge of energy, 3 crimson dragons materialized behind Issei. He threw the spear toward Cao Cao, and the dragons swirled around it as it collided with his opponent. Despite Cao Cao's efforts to defend himself, he was unable to withstand the force of Issei's rider kick, which further empowered the spear attack. Issei managed to break Cao Cao's spear and plunged his weapon into Cao Cao's heart, driving him against the cliff wall before it exploded. Meanwhile, Ryusi was engaged in a fierce battle against Stalk. A large snake suddenly appeared, poised to strike. Ryusi activated his full bottle buster sword mode, unleashing a powerful slash of energy that obliterated the snake. He then charged at Stalk, landing a series of punches that cracked Stalk's helm and continued to batter him in the torso and ribs. With a final, decisive roundhouse kick, Ryusi sent Stalk crashing into the cliff wall. As Stalk lay against the cliff, breathing, he acknowledged Ryusi's strength, noting that he had reached the same level as Kiryusento. Stalk expressed his intent to meet Ryusi again, while Evolt, using his speed, made his escape. After their victory, Ryusi and Issei returned to their civilian forms, having successfully defeated the hero faction, who were now imprisoned by the authorities of the heavens. The captured members of the hero faction were interrogated for further information, while Evolt's escape left them on high alert, knowing they would encounter him again. In the prison, Kilba, now in a new form, remarked on the state of Chow Chow, who was clearly worse for wear. Jean expressed her frustration at Kilba for not assisting them, while Heracles demanded to know what had happened. Kilba, claiming to be merely an observer, touched the prison door's rod and declared that, as their ally, he would free them if they shared their plans. In another location, Ryusi confronted Azazel, demanding to know how 3 members of the hero faction had escaped. Azazel speculated that they must have had a powerful ally assisting them, as the prison was supposed to be impenetrable. Ryusi listened quietly, and when Sona inquired if he had any suspects, he suggested Kilba, the 3rd steam user, who might be even more powerful than Evolt. Ryusi explained that there were 3 users of the steam system: the bat, the snake, and the spider. He had encountered the bat, known as Night Rogue, who was neutral but leaned toward the good side. The snake, Evolt, was now their enemy, while the spider, Kilba, was a wild card, potentially more cunning than Evolt. Saji expressed concern about Kilba, and Issei agreed, noting that he could be a threat on his own. Azazel decided to inform Surzex and Michael about this new information and disappeared through a portal. Ryusi prepared to leave, mentioning he had something to do. He tossed 2 new devices to Saji, a purple version of the rabbit tank sparkling can and another build driver, advising him to use them wisely. After school, Saji walked home, inspecting the purple full bottle when he was suddenly confronted by 3 Lost Smash, Castle, Owl, and Stag Beetle. Without hesitation, he transformed into Rogue using the Splash driver and charged at them, determined to fight despite being outnumbered. The Lost Smash proved to be tougher than usual, and Saji struggled against their combined might. A slash from the Stag left him wounded, and an attack from the Owl knocked him down. Castle unleashed a red energy beam, causing Saji to cry out in pain. In a moment of desperation, Saji remembered the new devices Ryusi had given him. He retrieved the build driver from his bag, attaching it to his waist. With determination, he opened the purple can, and the sound of soda fizzing filled the air. He placed it in the build driver and activated it, feeling a surge of power as he transformed into Kamen Rider Primal Rogue. Clad in purple, black, and gold armor, Saji felt his strength increase. He charged at the Lost Smash, delivering powerful blows that made them feel the impact. He rotated the crank on his driver, unleashing a series of devastating attacks. With a leap, he transformed his leg into a dragon's mouth, capturing the Lost Smash Owl and causing it to explode. Saji continued his assault, using his left robotic arm to crush the Lost Smash Stag against the wall. Now only the Lost Smash Castle remained. He charged at it, executing a rider kick that collided with Castle's shield. The 2 forces struggled against each other, but Saji kept rotating the crank, unleashing a series of powerful attacks that culminated in a final, overwhelming blow. During the break, Saji unleashed a powerful kick, breaking through the shield guards of Lost Smash Castle, causing a massive explosion. As he landed, he was out of breath and reverted to his civilian form, only to start coughing up blood. He wondered if this was the aftereffect of his actions and felt compelled to inform Ryusi about it. Meanwhile, Night Rogue, now in his Hell Kaiser form, walked through a pile of stray devil bodies until he encountered Stalk. Hell Kaiser complimented Stalk on his new appearance and acknowledged that he had been defeated in this form but not in his previous one. He revealed that his brother had made a move, freeing the hero faction, and requested Stalk's help. Stalk questioned why he should assist, to which Hell Kaiser responded by revealing the EVOL driver, promising that it could enhance Stalk's power further. Saji, still reeling from his earlier actions, expressed his concern about his body's inability to handle the hazard level. Despite being a devil, he felt as though his body was rejecting the increased hazard level. Ryusi explained that while low-class devils could typically exceed level 7, Saji's body seemed limited to that threshold, which could be fatal if pushed further. Saji speculated that the nebula gas experiment he had undergone was the cause of his current condition, which had allowed him to become a Kamen Rider. Ryusi connected the dots, realizing that the nebula gas was indeed affecting Saji after using the build driver and rogue prison full bottle. He insisted that they needed to retrieve the items before it was too late. Saji, however, was desperate to keep the power he had gained, feeling left behind while others grew stronger. Ryusi hesitated but agreed to let Saji keep the items for now, warning him that if things turned dire, he would take them back. Suddenly, Kilba appeared in his rider form, reminding them of his identity by brandishing the white spider full bottle. He then equipped the Evolt driver, announcing his transformation. Ryusi urged Saji to call for help while he prepared to confront Kilba. As Ryusi transformed into his dragon form, he engaged in a fierce battle with Kilba, both fighters evenly matched due to their similar hazard levels. As the fight escalated, Issei and Sada joined Ryusi, transforming into their respective forms. Together, the three riders charged at Kilba, combining their powers in an attempt to overpower him. Despite their efforts, Kilba remained resilient, reveling in the challenge and absorbing their energy. Realizing that their combined attacks were being absorbed, Ryusi and his companions were taken aback. Kilba then unleashed a devastating roundhouse kick, sending them reeling. He lifted a device resembling the hazard trigger, announcing that he had created the void trigger by combining their powers. With a dramatic transformation, Kilba became Kamen Rider Kilba Void, clad in striking black and white with red accents. In the aftermath, Kilba stood triumphantly in the ruined school field, declaring that his power had returned and evolved. Ryusi, still recovering, urged Saji and Issei to flee, recognizing that they were no match for Kilba in their current state. Despite their protests, Ryusi insisted they leave, knowing they could not defeat such a powerful foe. As the tension mounted, Ryusi prepared to face Kilba, aware of the overwhelming odds against him. Both combatants charged at each other, exchanging powerful blows, but the outcome remained uncertain as they continued their fierce struggle. Both fighters exchanged blows, each matching the other's strength. Kilba acknowledged Ryusi's ability to keep up but asserted that it was still insufficient. With a swift motion, Kilba seized Ryusi by the throat and unleashed a barrage of punches to his face, followed by a knee strike to the gut. A powerful kick sent Ryusi crashing into the school building. Emerging from the wreckage, Ryusi activated the beat crosser and began firing at Evolt. Evolt leaped forward, delivering a punch that sent Ryusi crashing to the ground. Ryusi quickly recovered, leaping from the small crater he had created and launching a kick at Kilba. The alien knelt, but Ryusi charged forward, attempting to land a punch. Kilba effortlessly caught Ryusi's fist with one hand, taunting him about his inability to win. In retaliation, Kilba delivered an uppercut that sent Ryusi soaring into the air before following up with a kick that sent him crashing back down. Ryusi stood his ground and attempted a roundhouse kick, but Kilba caught his leg, preventing the attack. Kilba dismissed Ryusi's efforts as weak. Evolt then kicked Ryusi down again, boasting about his superiority. Kilba's right hand glowed with a dark purple energy before he unleashed a powerful blast at Ryusi's position. Hovering in the air, Kilba laughed triumphantly until he sensed a surge of blue energy charging toward him. A blue energy wave, known as the Dragonic Slash, hurtled toward Kilba, leaving Ryusi in suspense about its impact. In a sudden move, Kilba dove at Ryusi with a rider kick. Ryusi struggled to hold his ground against the force, sliding backward. At that moment, Issei and the others returned with reinforcements, witnessing Ryusi's dire situation. Issei rushed forward, desperate to help his brother, but Ryusi urged him to stay back. He expressed his regret for not being a better brother and asked Issei to protect the world, knowing he might not survive the encounter. Issei, filled with confusion and sorrow, could only watch as Ryusi thanked him for their bond. The rider kick then struck Ryusi, resulting in a blinding explosion. Issei fell to his knees, heartbroken as he saw only Ryusi's damaged full bottle remaining in the crater. Overcome with grief, he shouted for his brother, directing his anger toward Kilba. Transforming into his Ryuki survive form, Issei unleashed a powerful punch that sent Kilba crashing into another building, his aura radiating fiercely. Kilba emerged from the rubble, impressed by Issei's newfound strength. As red lightning enveloped him, he growled about the consequences of killing Ryusi. The two opponents clashed, their fists colliding with enough force to create a shockwave that shook the ground beneath them. Kilba acknowledged Issei's increasing power due to his sacred gear and demanded more entertainment from him. As the battle intensified, energy gathered around Issei's fist, preparing for a decisive strike against Kilba, whose dark energy surged in response. An explosion erupted as their powers collided. 5 weeks later, Issei sat on the balcony of his home, reflecting on the loss of his brother. The morning sun shone brightly, but the chirping of birds felt hollow without Ryusi. The grief weighed heavily on Issei and his family, who mourned the loss of someone they loved dearly. Despite his victory over Sarorg, the pain of Ryusi's absence lingered, leaving Issei silent around everyone except for Ryus and a few close friends. Determined to find solace, Issei ventured to his brother's lab in the basement. The disarray of the lab was expected, but it felt like a part of Ryusi's essence remained there. At the work table, Issei discovered a laptop and opened it, finding a single video file. As he clicked on it, Ryusi's familiar face appeared on the screen. In the recording, Ryusi spoke directly to Issei, expressing his fears about not making it back this time. He reminisced about their childhood memories, emphasizing how much he loved his brother. The video ended, leaving Issei in tears as he whispered his own feelings of love and loss. Meanwhile, in the hero faction lair, discussions about Ryusi's death unfolded. Kilba confirmed that he had eliminated Kamen Rider Superior Build, but Cao Cao warned that Issei remained a threat due to his connection to Draig and his own power. The group debated their next move, with Heracles eager for a rematch against Issei. Kilba, however, remained confident that Issei was not yet a match for them. As they strategized, Kilba revealed that he had acquired powerful artifacts to bolster their strength. Cao Cao transformed, enveloped in red and black energy, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The tension in the air hinted at the impending clash between Issei and the forces that sought to exploit his grief and power. In a different realm, Ryusi found himself enveloped in darkness, struggling to awaken. He sensed a familiar presence urging him to help his brother. As he opened his eyes, he was met with a sealing and the pain of his injuries. A familiar voice confirmed that he was awake, hinting at the possibility of his return to the fight. Ryusi looked beside him to see Night Rogue sitting in a chair, leaning against the wall. Concern filled Ryusi as he wondered what had happened. Night Rogue explained that Ryusi had drifted into the dimensional gap, and he suspected it was connected to Kilba. Ryusi admitted that Kilba had become too powerful for him to handle. Night Rogue revealed that he had heard about the battle at Kuo Academy 5 weeks prior, which made Ryusi realize how long he had been unconscious. Night Rogue continued, stating that Ryusi's body should have been destroyed during that time, but a miracle occurred when Ophis sensed a disturbance in the dimensional gap and fixed him. This prompted Ryusi to ask if Night Rogue was now working with Ophis. Night Rogue confirmed that he was part of Vala's newly established brigade called the Vanishing Brigade, alongside Evolt and others. Just then, Evolt emerged from the shadows, surprising Ryusi. Evolt explained that he was there to stop his brother, Kilba. He assured Ryusi that he would explain everything later but emphasized that Ryusi needed to recover first, as he had a plan for his comeback. Ryusi sighed and lay back down, contemplating the need to find a way to defeat Kilba and gain a power that could surpass him. Evolt promised to assist him in that endeavor, but recovery was essential. Ryusi's thoughts turned to creating a full bottle similar to Genius. He felt relieved to know that Katsuragi was still alive, which gave him hope. He realized that creating something akin to Genius would require significant effort. As he pondered this, he was greeted by Valley and others who had come to see him. Valley acknowledged Ryusi's awakening and introduced himself as Kamen Rider Vanish. He quickly got to the point, expressing his need for Ryusi's intellect to create a power-up device, as his brother and the user of Vritra had received upgrades while he remained stagnant. Ryusi agreed to help, asking for time and a place to work. Valley assured him that this could be arranged. Over the next 2 weeks, Ryusi dedicated himself to building a power-up device for Valley. When Valley inquired if Ryusi had finished, he revealed the Vanishing Gauntlet and Vanishing Dragon full bottle. Ryusi encouraged Valley to try it out in the simulation room and provided him with another build driver for use. Valley prepared himself, inserting the full bottle into the Albion knuckle and activating the device. As bright blue particles enveloped Valley, he transformed into his new armored form. Ryusi, using a microphone, asked how it felt. Valley responded that he could feel his power level increasing and intended to use this new strength moving forward. Ryusi left him to continue their project, retrieving the blueprint for his own power-up design. The following day, Ryusi awoke to a new morning, contemplating whether to try again with his project. Katsuragi expressed uncertainty about the previous day's failure, but Ryusi remained hopeful. Meanwhile, in the hero faction lair, Heracles reported that they had obtained both the white and black panels. Kilba instructed them to retrieve the lost bottles that Ryusi had taken and prepare to confront Issei. Blood stood silently as Chow Chow, also known as Kamen Rider Blood, confirmed that everything was going as planned. At Kuo Academy, Issei inspected a blank full bottle, confused about its purpose. Rias questioned whether Ryusi had indeed created it, but Issei was unsure, feeling left in the dark about his brother's intentions. He noticed the black and gold bottles that had emerged from the 3 opponents Saji had defeated weeks ago and felt overwhelmed by the situation. Rias and Sona discussed the threat posed by Kilba, noting that his power could rival that of the 4 Mao. Suddenly, an explosion rocked the school, prompting Issei and Sona to react in shock. In the school field, Chow Chow stood with Heracles and Jean, both of whom had also transformed. They awaited the arrival of their opponents, and soon Issei and Saji appeared, ready to confront them. Issei recognized Chow Chow's spear and was taken aback by the new power he wielded. As Issei and Saji prepared for battle, a mysterious ally appeared beside them, revealing that Ryusi was alive and in safe hands. The ally introduced himself and transformed using the Bat Full Bottle and Engine Full Bottle, becoming Mad Rogue. He explained that he had found Ryusi, who was still recovering and likely involved in something reckless. Issei was shocked to learn that his brother was alive. Mad Rogue informed that Issei was still recovering and urged him to be patient. Issei felt a sense of relief as he looked at Chow Chow, realizing that his opponent's days were numbered. He was eager to make the confrontation more intense. The 2 sides were now set for a 3-on-3 battle. Heracles activated his clock-up ability and charged at Saji, dragging him through the school. Saji crashed through a wall and fell to the ground, shocked by Heracles' speed. Heracles taunted Saji from behind, prompting Saji to swing his fist back, but Heracles dodged effortlessly and punched Saji against the wall, mocking his slowness and weakness. Saji struggled to regain his footing, only to be kicked by Heracles, sending him flying once more. Heracles continued to belittle Saji, claiming that defeating him was too easy. Just then, Sona arrived, calling out to Rogue. Saji was surprised to see her and urged her to leave with the others. Heracles recognized Sona as Sona Citri, the daughter of Citri and sister of Leviathan, and expressed his enjoyment at the thought of killing her. Saji, filled with determination, charged at Heracles and managed to land a punch, but Heracles emerged from the rubble, amused by Saji's resilience. They exchanged blows, but Heracles ultimately overpowered Saji, landing a powerful punch to his chest and sending him crashing into the wall. As Saji reverted to his civilian form, he realized he was close to defeat. Sona, desperate, urged him to use the device given to him by Ryusi, but Saji hesitated, fearing the consequences. Sona pleaded with him, tears forming in her eyes, not wanting to witness him being beaten any longer. Saji, touched by her concern, admitted his feelings for her, revealing that he had fallen for her since she made him her pawn. He vowed to protect her one last time. Saji summoned the Obsidian Knuckle and the Obsidian Rogue Full Bottle, preparing for a final transformation. As he activated his sacred gear, a purple mist enveloped him. He inserted the obsidian knuckle into his build driver, and the transformation began. Sona, panicking, begged him to stop, but Saji was resolute. He felt empowered, surrounded by embers of magma as he declared his evolution. In a flash, Saji was in front of Heracles, catching him off guard and dragging him across the hallway before tossing him aside. Both fighters activated their abilities, matching each other's speed and agility. In the realm of clock-up, Saji dominated the fight, ultimately standing over a defeated Heracles. As time returned to normal, Saji prepared to deliver a finishing blow, catching Heracles by surprise with a powerful dive kick. With a resounding impact, Saji defeated Heracles, who exploded upon contact. As Saji began to disappear and revert to his civilian form, Sona rushed to catch him, desperate to save him from falling. She pleaded with him to hold on, expressing her regret for not realizing his feelings sooner. Saji reassured her, grateful for her love, even if it was for a short time. As he faded away, Sona was left heartbroken, calling out his name in despair. Meanwhile, Issei was engaged in battle with Cao Cao, while Mad Rogue faced off against Jean. Cao Cao taunted Issei, questioning why he couldn't land a single attack. Issei charged at him, but their clash resulted in a stalemate as Cao Cao defended himself with his spear. He mocked Issei for his lack of power, recalling their last encounter and expressing disappointment in Issei's abilities. As the two riders clashed, Mad Rogue confronted Jean about her allegiance. She insisted she was on the side of justice, but Mad Rogue challenged her perspective, reminding her of the destruction caused by Cao Cao. He accused her of sacrificing innocent lives and questioned the morality of her actions. Jean defended her choices, claiming they were for the greater good, but Mad Rogue countered that such actions were often labeled as twisted justice. In the midst of the battle, Issei realized his power was waning. Drake warned him that his strength was diminishing, prompting Issei to take out his final form and insert it into his dragvisor Dre. An explosion erupted, forcing Cao Cao to leap back. Emerging from the smoke, Issei was clad in red and black armor, ready to charge at Cao Cao with renewed vigor, determined to turn the tide of battle. Issei charged at Cao Cao, who was just getting to his feet. He tackled Cao Cao to the ground and began to punch him, but Cao Cao quickly raised his spear to defend himself. Issei's determination was palpable as he expressed his frustration at being underestimated. Cao Cao gritted his teeth behind his helm and kicked Issei away. Although Issei stumbled back, he managed to regain his footing, breathing heavily. Both fighters leaped into the air, executing their signature rider kicks in a powerful clash that resulted in an explosion. They both fell to the ground, struggling to rise. Cao Cao acknowledged Issei's persistence, while Issei declared his readiness to continue the fight. However, Cao Cao revealed his intentions, stating that Issei would not survive this encounter and that he aimed to obtain the lost bottle. As Issei felt his energy drain and his body become immobile, he closed his eyes in despair. A familiar voice broke through his thoughts, urging him to open his eyes. When he did, he saw Ryusi standing before him, having intercepted Cao Cao's spear. Ryusi kicked the spear upward and leaped into action, using his rider kick to send the spear piercing through Cao Cao's armor and into his heart. Cao Cao let out a pained cry as he fell, his body sliding across the ground. Ryusi approached Cao Cao's fading form, who acknowledged his defeat with a sense of peace. Ryusi noted that Valle must have told Cao Cao about him, and he explained that misunderstandings had led to this conflict. As Cao Cao disappeared, he left behind his spear, which Ryusi took, marveling at its true potential as it transformed into something new. Meanwhile, in a large room, Kilba stood before a Pandora box, flanked by Shalba, who had acquired several lost bottles. Shalba mentioned that they still needed the Bat Lost bottle, which was in the possession of Mad Rogue. Kilba confidently stated his intention to retrieve it, using a black hole portal to vanish. The following day, after Saji's funeral, Sona expressed her regrets to Ryusi and Issei, revealing that Blood had already given the lost bottles to Kilba. Despite the apologies from Sona and Ryusi's peerage, Issei reassured them that they had done nothing wrong. Ryusi noted that Jean had managed to escape, but they would encounter her again soon. Ryusi speculated about Kilba's next moves, sharing his knowledge of the Pandora box and its destructive capabilities. He fabricated a story about coming from another world, emphasizing the need to protect this one. Issei, still seeing Ryusi as a brother despite their differences, expressed his unwavering support. Ryusi appreciated the sentiment and playfully punched Issei's cheek. In another location, Mad Rogue lay on the ground, knowing that his confrontation with Kilba was inevitable. Kilba spoke to him about the pain of loss and destiny, revealing a bat-full bottle that he transformed into a bat-lost bottle. Mad Rogue, breathing heavily, warned Kilba that Evolt would be waiting for him at the place where it all began. Back at the Hyudu residence, Issei handed Ryusi a large blank full bottle he had found in Ryusi's lab. Recognizing its potential, Ryusi began to experiment with it, fusing it with rabbit and dragon full bottles to create a new form. Just then, Ryusi received a call from Vale, who informed him that Kilba had attacked Mad Rogue and stolen the bat-full bottle. Shocked, Ryusi instructed Issei to contact Ryusi and others for assistance, including Azazel. As rain poured down, Evolt stood waiting for Kilba. Their confrontation was inevitable, and Evolt was determined to settle their rivalry once and for all. Kilba, acknowledging Evolt's survival, dismissed the small talk and prepared for battle. They charged at each other, exchanging powerful punches that sent both of them skidding back in surprise. Meanwhile, Ryusi raced to find Evolt, questioning why he would engage in a fight he might not win. Shalba appeared, leaning against a wall, revealing his knowledge of the ongoing conflict and hinting at his own agenda. Ryusi was determined to destroy the world. Shalba, refusing to let Ryusi interfere, activated his build driver and prepared for battle. With a powerful shout, he initiated his transformation, declaring his readiness for the fight. Ryusi responded by equipping the shining build can to his belt and transforming as well. Without hesitation, both riders charged at each other, exchanging powerful punches. Shalba laughed, exhilarated by the adrenaline of the fight, and challenged Ryusi to entertain him further. Ryusi, fueled by the intensity of the battle, struck Shalba in the chest, causing him to skid backward. However, Shalba quickly regained his footing and retaliated, landing a punch that sent Ryusi reeling. As the battle escalated, Shalba realized that his hazard level was increasing once again, and he vowed not to fail this time. He pulled out new full bottles and prepared a powerful attack, declaring that it would be the end for Ryusi. Both riders charged their power, readying themselves for a decisive blow. With a fierce battle cry, they leaped into the air, executing their rider kicks simultaneously. The kicks collided with a tremendous force, sending shockwaves through the area. Rubble and debris were lifted into the air as they rotated their cranks to amplify their power. Ryusi's strength surged, pushing Shalba back. In a moment of desperation, Shalba shouted in frustration as Ryusi's kick broke through his defenses, delivering a devastating impact. As Shalba exploded in defeat, Ryusi landed gracefully, reverting back to his civilian form just as rain began to pour. He looked down at the hazard trigger on the ground and picked it up, feeling the weight of the battle's outcome. Meanwhile, Evolt had fallen to the ground, struggling to rise. Ryusi rushed to help him, but Evolt, with his last breath, urged Ryusi to stop Kilba, revealing that he had transferred his essence into a new full bottle before succumbing. The body of Kiryu was left behind, lifeless. Ryusi decided to take Kiryu back to his home. When Kiryu awoke, he was confused and disoriented. Ryusi introduced himself, revealing his build driver and explaining the situation. Kiryu was bewildered but quickly realized the urgency of their circumstances. At Hyudu residence, Sento and Ryuga were having a reunion. Ryuga expressed his confusion about being in this world, suspecting that their own world had been destroyed. Sento, noticing Ryusi and Issei, questioned if they were Ryuga's sons and expressed his skepticism about their build driver. Ryuga confirmed that Ryusi was not from their world, as he could not detect Evolt's DNA in him. Ryusi explained that he had been transported to this world after a car accident. Sento pondered the implications of Evolt's possession and how it had affected their realities. Ryusi warned that Kilba had taken possession of the Pandora box and was likely planning to destroy their world as well. He urged Sento to contact other riders to strategize against Kilba. Sento, still recovering, decided to leave the fight to Ryusi and Issei. Ryusi presented Sento with the rabbit and tank full bottles, along with the full bottle blueprint, encouraging him to create something stronger. Sento accepted the challenge, impressed by Ryusi's ingenuity. As Ryusi stepped outside, he reflected on the situation and prepared to call upon the other riders for assistance. Meanwhile, Vale received word of Evolt's defeat and the rise of Kilba, rallying the Cows Brigade for action. In a graveyard, Ryusi stood before Saji's grave, paying his respects and acknowledging Saji's legacy as a great rider. He placed a white flower on the grave, wishing his friend peace. Back at the Cows Brigade, Kilba activated the Pandora box, unleashing a red light that shot into the sky. Walls began to rise from the ground, forming a tower as Ryusi raced toward it on his build phone motorbike. He knew he had to pave the way for his allies, who were on their way to support him. Issei, with his peerage, noticed the red light and realized that Ryusi was heading into danger. He urged everyone to evacuate the town, determined to join his brother in the fight against Kilba. Despite Ryusi's insistence on helping, Issei remained resolute in his decision to protect their home. Issei felt a deep sense of urgency as he looked at Ryusi, expressing his determination not to lose anyone else. He instructed the others to evacuate the civilians to safety while he and the riders confronted Kilba. Meanwhile, Ryusi arrived at the center of the tower, where the structure was nearly complete. He was searching for Kilba when he heard the villain's voice taunting him. Kilba spoke of hopelessness and despair, claiming to sense the fear and desperation of humanity. Suddenly, a pillar shot out from the side, striking Ryusi and causing him to fall to the ground, where the earth glowed red. He narrowly dodged another spike aimed at him. Kilba acknowledged Ryusi's potential, suggesting that he was something special. As the battle intensified, Ryusi evaded attacks from all directions. Kilba questioned what made Ryusi capable of saving the world. Ryusi declared his identity as a Kamen Rider, stating his purpose was to protect humanity from threats like Kilba. Kilba dismissed Ryusi's resolve, asserting that the world was on the brink of destruction and he would ensure its demise. Ryusi, fueled by determination, retrieved a new full bottle modeled after the Genius full bottle, which was black and gold. He initiated the transformation process, announcing the activation of the next experiment. As he transformed into his ultimate form, he prepared to show Kilba the extent of his power. Kilba emerged from the shadows, charging at Ryusi. They exchanged blows, each showcasing their combat skills. The battle was fierce, with both fighters matching each other's speed and strength. Kilba, however, revealed a new power by merging with the black panel Pandora, which contained all lost bottles. This transformation made him significantly stronger. As Kilba unleashed a powerful red energy attack, Ryusi was thrown back but quickly regained his footing. Just as Kilba prepared to strike again, Issei, Vale, and Riser arrived, joining forces with Ryusi. Together, they attempted a coordinated attack against Kilba, who managed to block their assault but was pushed back. The four riders stood together, ready to face the enhanced Kilba. Despite their combined strength, Kilba taunted them, expressing disappointment in their performance. The riders struggled to regain their composure, but their resolve remained strong. In another part of the tower, Mad Rogue and Azazel fought against Clone Hard Smash Hazard. They sensed the increasing intensity of the red light, indicating they were close to their goal. Upon reaching the Pandora box, they encountered Shalba, who revealed he had been resurrected and was now stronger than ever. Determined to protect the Pandora box, Shalba prepared to engage them in battle. As the fight escalated, Shalba demonstrated his power, pushing Mad Rogue and Azazel back. Frustrated, Azazel decided to use a newly upgraded weapon, the Downfall Dragon Spear, and transformed into his powerful form. With renewed strength, he and Mad Rogue charged at Shalba, delivering powerful blows that sent him crashing into the wall. Back with Ryusi and the others, they continued to struggle against the upgraded Kilba, who was dominating the fight. The 4 riders lay on the ground, trying to recover. In a moment of encouragement, the voices of their dragon partners urged them to rise and fight back. With newfound determination, Issei and Valis summoned their respective powers, preparing to unleash the might of the Heavenly Dragon Emperor against Kilba. Together, they charged, ready to turn the tide of battle. Issei summoned his dragon wings, now enveloped in magma, to enhance his speed. Valis struck Kilba with a powerful punch to the face, while Issei followed up with 2 roundhouse kicks to Kilba's chest plate, causing him to skid backward. Kilba, bewildered, questioned whether they were gaining more power. In unison, Valis and Issei declared that one should not underestimate the power of the Heavenly Dragon Emperor. With renewed determination, Valis and Issei lunged at Kilba, delivering powerful punches to his chest plate while channeling their energy. Kilba screamed in pain, clearly affected by their assault. Ryusi urged Riser to join the fight, to which Riser readily agreed. They prepared their finishing moves, transforming Riser into a phoenix as he lunged toward Kilba, while Ryusi executed a diving rider kick. The 2 Dragon Emperors unleashed a flurry of rapid punches, culminating in a dive punch from Riser, followed by a dive kick from Ryusi. The combined force sent Kilba crashing into the wall, shouting in agony. Meanwhile, Shalba was breathing, overwhelmed by the situation. He was taken aback by the unexpected turn of events. Mad Rogue, now sporting bat wings, hovered above and prepared for a rider kick as Azazel charged at Shalba, executing a dive kick. Azazel's robotic arms seized Shalba, holding him in place as Mad Rogue delivered a powerful drop kick. The 2 riders' combined attacks caused Shalba to explode, with the force pushing him against the wall. Mad Rogue kicked through the remnants of Shalba, reaching the Pandora box and halting the countdown. The ground trembled as the tower began to collapse. Mad Rogue shouted for everyone to escape immediately. The group managed to flee the crumbling structure just in time. They had successfully thwarted Kilba's plan, and Azazel and Mad Rogue rejoined their allies. Ryusi reflected on their victory, while Issei agreed. Mad Rogue noted that the Pandora box was now shattered and gone, ensuring that no one could use it again. Azazel confirmed that it was the only solution, and Riser expressed his relief that it was finally over. Valis remained silent, contemplating their hard-fought battle. Suddenly, they heard rubble shifting. Kilba, now clad in all red armor and wielding a drill crusher and Kaizoku Hashar, roared in fury, vowing that they would all pay for their actions. Spider-like legs emerged from his back, enhancing his menacing presence. The 6 riders took their stances, prepared for the final confrontation. Kilba, consumed by rage, declared that they would all perish by his hand. Ryusi rallied his comrades for one last round, and they braced themselves as Kilba charged at them. Ryusi initiated the attack, but Kilba dodged and retaliated with a kick. Issei joined the fray, landing a kick on Kilba, but the alien countered with a slash to Issei's chest plate. Riser unleashed a series of fiery punches and kicks, forcing Kilba to flinch and drop his weapons. However, Kilba retaliated by grabbing Riser's head and slamming it into the ground. Azazel and Mad Rogue intervened, holding Kilba back while Issei and Ryusi landed punches on his chest plate, with Riser finishing the combo with a kick. Kilba retaliated with a headbutt to Azazel, followed by an elbow to Mad Rogue's chest, sending him flying. Enraged, Kilba struck Issei, but Valis capitalized on the distraction, delivering a punch that sent Kilba skidding forward. Valis then executed an uppercut, further staggering Kilba. Ryusi landed a punch to Kilba's gut, causing him to flinch, but Kilba quickly grabbed Ryusi's hand and kicked him in the face. Valis, Issei, and Riser launched another coordinated attack, kicking Kilba in the chest plate, causing him to stagger back. In retaliation, Kilba unleashed his spider arms, crushing the ground beneath them. Azazel and Mad Rogue charged at Kilba, delivering a relentless barrage of punches until Kilba unleashed a red energy wave, sending them crashing to the ground. He vowed not to stop until he had killed them all, advancing toward them. Ryusi struggled to stand but stepped forward, determined to protect his comrades and the world. He declared that he would not allow Kilba to destroy their world again. His belt glowed with gold and silver as the gold rabbit and silver full bottles floated up from their holder, along with the full essence full bottle. The 3 bottles fused into one, creating a new full bottle. Ryusi proclaimed that this world would be under their protection now, demanding Kilba to leave. As he inserted the new full bottle into his rider belt and cranked it, the transformation began. Ryusi donned a black and red armor suit, ready to face Kilba head-on. Ryus and Sona called out to Issei and Saji, urging them to back off. Issei was determined to confront their enemy, declaring his intent to defeat the foe that had tarnished the name of Kamen Rider. Saji, filled with resolve, asserted that he would take on the challenge as well. With a card in hand, Issei stood up, flames igniting around them as he prepared for battle. He transformed into Ryuki, inserting a new card into his drag visor, which changed into Drag Visor's Vi. The card signaled his transformation. Ryusi, now in his Kamen Rider form, launched an attack on Kilba, landing a powerful punch that sent the alien staggering. Utilizing his rabbit speed, Ryusi quickly closed the distance, striking Kilba again before delivering a powerful kick that sent him airborne. With determination, Ryusi cranked his rider belt, activating a special move. He leaped into the air, delivering a series of kicks to Kilba before sending him crashing to the ground. He cranked the belt again, summoning the power of dragons to enhance his attack. As Ryusi descended, his fists charged with energy, he struck Kilba with a force that created a crater around him. Despite the overwhelming assault, Kilba refused to accept defeat, vowing that this would not be his end. Ryusi prepared for the final blow, combining the powers of the rabbit and dragon for a decisive attack. As the two forces clashed, Ryusi felt the presence of Katsuragi, who offered to convert himself into energy to help overpower Kilba. Ryusi was hesitant but understood the sacrifice being made. With a final surge of power, Ryusi's kick shattered Kilba's defenses, and the alien screamed in agony as he was defeated. Ryusi landed triumphantly as Kilba exploded behind him. 2 weeks later, the world had settled into a peaceful existence. However, Ryusi still sought answers to the questions that lingered in his mind: who had brought him to this world and what their purpose was. While Issei enjoyed time with his friends, Ryusi decided it was time for him to embark on his own journey. He felt he did not truly belong with them. Before leaving, Issei approached Ryusi one last time, expressing concern about his departure. Ryusi thanked Issei for their brotherly bond and received the Ryuki Advent deck as a good luck charm. Ryusi appreciated the gesture, laughing as he accepted it while revealing his motorbike. They shared a light moment, with Issei playfully asking about the bike's origin, to which Ryusi requested discretion regarding their parents. Their conversation was interrupted by Office, who emerged from a portal, asking if Ryusi would return. Ryusi replied uncertainly, promising that perhaps one day he would. With a final look at Issei and Office, Ryusi donned his helmet, started the engine, and rode off into the sunset. As Ryusi reached the top of a hill, he gazed back at Kyoto town, reflecting on his memories and the journey he had experienced there. He acknowledged that Issei would protect the town in his absence. Grateful for Katsuragi's sacrifice, Ryusi felt a mix of emotions as he contemplated his future. Suddenly, a massive presence landed behind him, causing him to turn in surprise. He found himself face to face with a giant creature, realizing that his adventure was far from over.